All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Patriot Underground. Today is Monday, February 23rd, 2026. Thank you so much for joining me, folks, to discover the truth beneath the surface. As always, I really do appreciate everybody out there taking the time to listen. And it just so happens that I am snowed in today. We got more than 2 feet, and it's still going strong here in Massachusetts. I know Mike got about 1.5 feet. We're getting some serious winter weather, but it's great because it gives us an opportunity to sit down a little bit earlier. As everybody knows, Mike and I pre-record the show for scheduling reasons, so it gives us a little bit more flexibility. Perhaps I'll be able to go and plow my driveway a little bit later tonight. But on that note, Mike, it's great to see you as per usual. Another session, Mondays with Mike. How you doing today?
Good. I'm doing well. Good to be with you. And please don't send those extra 6 inches down here. We've had enough.
It's crazy, man. I mean, we just had a storm not too long ago, and it was probably about 18 to 20 inches or something like that at that point. But this is just blowing it out of the water. I'm looking out the window right now, and 50-mile-an-hour winds. The snow is still going, and we've got about 2.5 feet already. So this is pretty crazy. But more importantly, we've got an amazing show lined up for you folks tonight. What a week it has been since the last time we spoke, Mike. My goodness, we had the first arrest, presumably. We also had, and we're going to talk a little bit about former Prince Andrew tonight. We also had Lex Wexner's, excuse me, I should do that in air quotes, his fake deposition. We're going to talk a little bit about that. The Supreme Court's ruling on tariffs. We're going to break it all down for you folks tonight. And you'll recall that on our last show, we had an in-depth discussion about the meaning, if you will, of Q's famous quote, "The choice to know will be yours." We had an open discussion about that and explored different possibilities in terms of which direction the White Hats are going to go with disclosure. Mike had a visual there, the guy standing at the crossroads, and we got into it a little bit, discussing the various different possibilities. So tonight's episode is going to be a really good addendum to that conversation, as we've had some fascinating developments to unpack for all of you, which I just mentioned a moment ago. I'm going to break it down tonight and talk a little bit about the latest scenes that have been brought to us by the creative geniuses at 4POG, who continue to keep us guessing at the edge of our seats with our popcorn as this scripted drama plays out. And as per usual, we're going to follow our typical format, bringing you analysis and commentary using Mike's Q York Times articles as the main springboard for the discussion. So with that in mind, allow me to provide just a brief synopsis of what we're going to be covering tonight before we dive in. I already alluded to some of the stuff we're going to be getting into, but with a little bit more specificity here. The first article we're going to discuss is entitled "Q Epstein Movie Boom, Wexner, Rothschild Named," and that was published on February 20th. And in this article, Mike is going to provide his analysis on the Wexner deposition. You'll recall I spoke to Dave about this as it was breaking last Thursday, but we're going to get Mike's take on it tonight. And in the process, provide some insight into the first arrest of former Prince Andrew. So we're going to be examining how White Hat Productions is proceeding with the rollout of the next phases of the exposure operation in the wake of the release of the Epstein files, which was back on January 30th, almost a month ago now. So that's going to be the first segment. From there, we're going to pivot into another analysis of one of Mike's most recent Q York Times articles. Matter of fact, I think this one was published just yesterday, entitled "Why Did the Supreme Court," with a Q, of course, "betray Trump?" And Mike's going to talk a little bit about that, provide some insight into the SCOTUS ruling, as well as Trump's cryptic statement in response to paint a picture of where this might be headed. And indeed, this is an avenue that's going to dovetail very nicely with the first segment that I just described, as you'll see. And then finally, in the historical portion of the show, we're going to let the bad guys of history speak for themselves. Mike actually wrote an amazing article. I don't know when, but it's an incredible article that examines the famous quotes, or some famous quotes, from vilified figures all throughout history, people that we were taught to despise, from Napoleon all the way up to, I believe, Kim Jong-un. And in the process, shed some light on the real history that's been withheld from us, as only Mike can do. So like I said, it should be a great show. Hopefully you folks will enjoy it. Remember to hit that positive affirmation button if you happen to be watching on Rumble. That is the thumbs up. And on X, it is the heart button. Also, make sure you are following both Mike and myself on Rumble and on X, and we'll talk a little bit more about how you can get a little bit more information about Mike's mission and all of his links and so forth a little bit later in the show. So let's go ahead and hear from our sponsor really quickly, and then we'll go ahead and get started.
Your financial advisor isn't going to tell you this. Your bank won't mention it. And your 401k custodian, they're hoping you never find out. You can convert your retirement account into physical gold and silver, real metal in your hands, or stored exactly where you decide. It's called a gold IRA rollover, and it's 100% legal, 100% IRS approved. And your financial, quote, experts, they don't get a commission when you take control like this. Wall Street wants your money in their system, in their accounts, where they control it. But physical gold, that's yours. Can't be hacked, can't be deleted, can't vanish when the market crashes. Verity Metals, we're the experts they don't want you to call. Convert your IRA or 401k into gold and silver that you can actually hold. Call 480-717-9081 or visit veritymetals.com, because your retirement should be in your hands, not theirs.
All right. And just very quickly here, I had a great show with Matt Geiger just yesterday, as a matter of fact, talking about a lot of the stuff that we're going to get into tonight, Mike and I, of course, in a little bit more detail. But already the calls have been pouring in. And I just want to emphasize here right now is a really excellent time to invest in metals and buy the dip, as they say, whether you're looking to make a cash purchase or whether you're looking to do an IRA rollover. This is undoubtedly the gentleman that you want to speak to guide you through the process. You'll get the absolute best price and unparalleled customer service that'll keep you coming back. If you check the comments from yesterday's video, you can see for yourself real people talking about their experiences with Matt and Verity Metals. He gets rave reviews for good reason. So give him a call today. His number is 888-470-7018, and just let him know that Patriot sent you, and you will be in very good hands. So with that said, Mike, let's go ahead and bring up our slides. We'll get started. We have a lot to cover this evening. So I'm just going to pass the baton right over to you to talk a little bit about Les Wexner, the Epstein movie boom, and of course the big fish, Rothschild, being named on multiple occasions now. So take it away, my man.
Yeah, this shows that we're getting close, because these are the type of individuals who exist far above the cloud line. You never hear their names. Even someone like Epstein, Maxwell, they're lower level. But Les Wexner and Rothschild, and even like George Soros. I mean, before the Q operation came along, it was just kind of forbidden to even talk about these names. You would only hear it in like right-wing circles. Now their names are being dropped, and what's really intriguing to me is Rothschild's name. Yep. We keep hearing it.
Yep.
I would say 3 times now it's been mentioned on Fox News. And this character here, Les Wexner, no way the real one is alive, by the way.
I agree.
And this hearing was, we'll get into it. It was, you could tell.
This was actually hilarious.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
They're not even trying. So this military operative here, playing the role of the deceased Les Wexner, I mean, he represents someone who's really, really high up there in the pantheon.
Oh yeah.
Now, we've known from the beginning, thanks to the Q posts, that Epstein Island was really Wexner's island, and this guy's he's best known for his company's Victoria's Secret, and I wonder if that name itself is a com, right? But it was his island, so he's a top level Cyanine is the word. Cyanine refers to Jewish agents and moguls in other countries that the Mossad will work with. So he's Mossad, even though he's born, raised American. They utilized his billionaire network, but the coordination comes from Tel Aviv. So this is
kind of like Lucky Larry Silverstein, right? Put him in the same category. Yeah.
Lutnick too. All those characters.
That's an interesting sidebar right there going on with Lutnick. We won't get into it.
It certainly is. Yeah. Or Lutnick in quotes. But so Epstein's island all along has been Wexner's island. Jeffrey Epstein was just a clever, ambitious guy from the streets of New York. Really, I mean, he was an intelligent guy, math teacher, ambitious, degenerate. but he's part of the tribe. That's all he is, a front man. Yep. And this came out. Who was it? Not Virginia Maria Farmer, one of the girls who, from a very young age, was groomed and forced to work on Epstein Island. Told the whole story. Like, I mean, she got real close to Epstein and Maxwell. She was part of the inner circle. She was groomed into that, and how Epstein used to boast. You see this house here? Wexner gave it to me for $1. Wexner gave Epstein everything, and the front was that he was some sort of investment guru.
Yeah, right.
Etc. But this man you're looking at right here. This is Wexner's island. So, and in the scheme of things, even Ghislaine Maxwell outranks Jeffrey Epstein.
Oh yeah,
because of her condition. We know her daddy is Robert Maxwell, the media mogul, buried with honors in Jerusalem. All the Mossad chiefs were there. So to see him now brought out into the public light, very, very strong indication that we're in the beginning of the end game.
Yes, sir.
And during this so-called testimony, it was interesting. He dropped the name of Rothschild. There he was talking about other clients that Epstein worked for, and he said Google, Jeff Bezos, the Rothschild, ding, 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 you know. And then later on, Fox News repeated that, and that's the second time in a week Fox News was talking about Rothschilds.
Yep.
And that's, you know, historically, you don't mention this name. So I
was going to say, yeah, that's like the forbidden name that you're not allowed to say. You know, and the fact that it's becoming, I mean, first of all, it showed up in the files that were dropped on January 30th multiple different times. In Epstein's own words, he said that he represents the Rothschilds. I mean, that came out. So, and now we're starting to see it proliferate onto mainstream media, and that is absolutely massive. That's exactly where you want people's eyes looking at this point.
That's right.
So,
I mean, it's just mainstream Fox media for now.
For now, yep.
But that's a huge step. That's a huge step because you know, for centuries, you were only allowed in polite company. It was only socially, morally permissible to talk of Rothschild, just in the sense of a great banking dynasty.
That's right.
And philanthropy, that sort of stuff. Not to associate them with politics or any nefarious activities. And they once filed a lawsuit to stop the publication of a book about 100 years ago, because the book discussed how Nathan the Rothschild multiplied his already massive fortune several times over because he had advanced knowledge of Waterloo. And that really struck a nerve with the Rothschild clan. They filed a lawsuit. I can show you the article. It was a big write-up in the New York Times. Mm-hmm. And now here we are, Rothschild. And the only other major characters of this century that dare to mention a Rothschild is one, Q. It's all over the Q post.
Yep.
You put Rothschild in a search engine, or Roth, or LDR, all over. Plus the image searches. There's pictures of Sir Evelyn. There's pictures of Lady the Rothschild. There's pictures of Jacob the Rothschild, Nat the Rothschild. So he is a key player in the Q posts.
Yeah, with some interesting people, of course, like Ghislaine Maxwell and Hillary Clinton and McCain and Soros, et cetera, et cetera. So
yeah, and these are some hardcore posts, including death threats. Yes, death threats were made towards Lady de Rothschild and her family. We know where you and your family are. We can hear you breathing. You must be nervous. And you have to read the whole context of the Q posts. All of the people named by Q. And I'm appreciating this more now that I'm going through the old posts again, because, you know, I'm doing that series. We'll talk about that later.
Yep.
There's a number of barely cryptic, I wouldn't even call them cryptic, they're almost overt, death threats towards all of these people coming from Q. Mm-hmm. But it's only Q and in 1930s Germany under Hitler. That's the only time a major entity has dared to mention the name Rothschild in this sense.
Yep.
So this is historic, because now it's off the keyboards and it's seeping into mainstream media a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Those are the two names that I've been waiting. Well, one would be Rothschild, and the second one, of course, we know we're waiting on Rachel Chandler, which I know you're going to talk about.
Yeah.
So, and who's also
here's the headlines.
Oh, sure. Go ahead.
I was just saying, there's the headlines from the New York Times. Ex-CEO Wexner says Epstein conned him, but Democrats are skeptical. Now, among people who've known anything about Epstein's Island for many years, it's not a big secret that Wexner is the power behind the throne. Yet the Times never mentioned his name, and here they are in headlines. And there's another head: how Jeffrey Epstein used the billionaire behind Victoria's Secret for wealth and women. Jeffrey Epstein drafted letters to men like retail billionaire Leslie Wexner, in which he hinted at shared secrets. So, I mean, this is another indicator, yet again, of something fundamentally has changed at the New York Times. They never mentioned Wexner. Even when Epstein became sort of a public figure 10, 15 years ago, I mean, he did get arrested, got a very light sentence. But there were some mentions of Epstein in the fake news, but always in a limited hangout manner, never this guy. And now the New York Times is going there as well. So, this to me was a very positive development to see this guy put out in the public.
Well, it's interesting. Go ahead. I didn't want to interrupt you there. No, I was going to say, it's interesting you mentioned that Epstein got such a light sentence. I don't know if you saw that clip of Alan Dershowitz on Piers Morgan, essentially saying that if he knew, or if Epstein had come to him and said, I'm a Mossad agent, or I'm working for the CIA, he would have got away with everything, including human trafficking and pedophilia. Did you see that clip? It's pretty telling. Oh, look, I think you froze there for a sec, Mike. I don't know.
Okay, I'm back.
Okay. Did you hear what I was saying? I don't know.
No, I just had a blank screen for about 20 seconds.
Oh, okay. That's weird. Yeah, I was just mentioning the fact, the clip that Alan Dershowitz on Piers Morgan talking about having a get out of jail free card for somebody who is a Mossad agent or a CIA agent. I was wondering if you had seen that one.
No, I missed that one. Yeah.
Well, let me just play it to you really quickly, because I think it factors into the context of the conversation. It's only about 20 seconds. Yeah. So let me pull this up. I think folks will find this interesting.
Could it be that Jeffrey Epstein just had a completely different life that he just did not tell you about? And it may also have included being a spy. I mean, clearly.
Telling me that he worked for the Mossad would have given him a get out of jail free card. I could have gotten him no jail time. If he had told me he worked for the Mossad, for the CIA, it would have been a slam dunk for me to go to whoever I had to go to, even up to the President of the United States, and I would have gotten him a deal with no time at all.
Hang on a second. You mean if he'd said he was working with the Mossad or CIA, then he would get off being a pedophile?
That's right.
You see, that's pretty incredible. I played that on my show just the other day, but I wasn't sure if you had watched it or seen that, but it's pretty interesting, factoring into this whole conversation about Epstein and his sweetheart deal in the beginning. And now, of course, I mean, Dershowitz is pretending as if, oh no, he's not a CIA or Mossad agent at all. And, but we also know that Alan was flipped by Q. I made that point pretty clear. So anyway, thought I would just interject that really quickly.
Well, that's good, because that's another element of this story that we want public, is that this is a Mossad operation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. The more they mention that the Rothschilds, the more they mention Mossad, and certainly
that's right. And there's another clue given to us by Trump himself. We'll get into that in our other story later today. So I don't think this is going to be covered up. The fact that the bigger picture here is that this was an intelligence operation with geopolitical objectives.
Yep. All right. So let's go ahead and move on to our next panel here. There you go.
Okay. The major points here. He's cabal, he's Mossad, billionaire Les Wexner. This is so important to understand, because this really, it's the key to understanding so many different other events and issues, particularly something like 9/11. the Mossad could not pull off the things it does without the help of these Sayanim. And it's international. So if you're part of that elite class, Jewish mega billionaires, they approach you for help, whether willingly or because you need to go along. There's just so many. I mean, 50% of the billionaires in the United States are Jewish. Doesn't mean they're all criminals, thieves, and traitors, but there's certainly ample opportunity, recruiting grounds to work with these men.
Oh yeah.
So
forget about the fact that so many of them. I mean, most of them are probably blackmailed anyway. So it makes it relatively easy. But in certain cases,
or you wonder how many of them their positions and their wealth was greatly enhanced by plugging into this network. So that's how it works. It's not like they send their agents over here with bags of money to get influence people. I mean, that sort of stuff exists as well. But really, on a higher level, you've got all of these high-level billionaires in key strategic locations in government and academia, journalism, the corporate world. You see? Sometimes people don't understand. It doesn't make sense to them how this tiny little country the size of New Jersey in the Middle East with only a few million people can exert such power. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous. Well, no, that's just the headquarters. That's just an outpost, okay? That's like their capital. That's their safe haven. Yep. This network exists above all the various governments and corporate structures of the world. And Les Wexner is just a perfect example of that. Another one would be the Bronfmans. This one isn't talked about as much, the Nexium sex cult, but that was pretty big too and snared a lot of people. And the power behind that was the Bronfman sisters, whose father was head of the World Jewish Congress. Okay, Edgar Bronfman. Yep. Many years ago, he shook down the Swiss for gold. Says, "Oh, you guys got gold during the Holocaust that belongs to the Jews. You got to pay up." Yep. The Swiss were giving him a hard time. All of a sudden, a Swiss airplane falls out of the sky, and then there's a big explosion in the Swiss tunnel, and then the Swiss say, "Okay, we'll pay."
Yeah,
but that was Bronfman. So Bronfman ties into this, and then Nexium is all over the Q posts as well. So that was like a variation of Epstein's Island, the Nexium sex cult.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, if you put Rothschild into the search engine on the Q boards, you're going to get the Nexium stuff is going to pop up right alongside all the Rothschilds.
Yeah.
And I know that because I literally just did it as you're talking here. I just put in Rothschild into the Q boards and just to remind myself what images were there and so forth. And sure enough, Nexium cult, Allison Mack, all that stuff pops right up, along with Rachel Chandler. Of course.
So that's the significance of Les Wexner being in the public eye. It's a Sayanim. High-level Sayanim is being outed. And these people are generally untouchable. So a good sign to see that. Well, he's already been taken care of. I can assure you of that. But now this is all the replay. It was a fake. What's that?
Sorry. I was going to say it's also important too that they're exposing these billionaires because it really underscores the whole sexual blackmail pedophilia aspect of this stuff. Because you're a billionaire, you certainly don't need money, right? There's no need to buy off a billionaire. The way that they control them is exactly all know through the pedophilia, getting them on videotape, et cetera, et cetera. So the fact that they're all being exposed is, I mean, this is absolutely massive.
Well, it is. I mean, what the public now is learning, they're very slow learners and they've only got like a few basic points down, but that's all you need, is they're getting a sense of the importance and the power of the people associated with this, big politicians, so it started with nobody heard of Epstein's Island. Then we went through a phase where everybody heard of Epstein's Island. They just thought it was just some pervert and he had some people over his island. Then there's the fake cover-up. Now, and this is universally understood now. People understand there's a lot of big people caught up in this. That's mainstream news, you see? So it's a progression.
Yep.
Until you get to the point where you really start to drop the bombs in the mainstream world that are already appearing on TikTok and Twitter, the blood drinking, the torture, the raping of babies, eating, all that stuff.
Yep.
It's not mainstream yet, but we're not that far. It's all stages. And right now you have universal public awareness and understanding that is a lot of powerful people involved with that. And that's conspiracy. That's conspiracy.
They keep going farther up the food chain there.
Yeah.
And I say that, no pun intended, obviously, given the horrific nature of what we're talking about, but that's exactly what's being what's unfolding right now is all of these top level players. Bless Wexner. I mean, and I know Mike keeps saying it here, but you can't really overstate how significant it is that he is in the spotlight. And talking about Rothschild, it just shows you we're right on the cusp of getting to the top of that pyramid there in terms of exposure. And it's not going to be long now, I don't think, given the rate of events and how quickly things are unfolding.
It's got to be this year.
I think so. It's
got to be. Yeah.
I mean, we're only in February, and look at all that's transpired in these couple of months. Now, obviously, we know that they can always throw us a curveball. They can take stuff and put it on the back burner, all the things we talk about. But the runway is getting pretty small at this stage of the game when you're getting this close to the higher echelons. Not even close, but we're like right there, zeroing in on these people. So,
well, the saying, the Q post, drip, drip, flood. I mean, this is definitely drip, drip. Now, drip, drip isn't going to saturate people, but what happens is just like, when a cloud is accumulating moisture, when it bursts, you're saturated, right? Mm-hmm. So this is all drip, drip. The 5-hour closed door meeting was fake as hell. Democrats on the House Oversight Committee took the lead in this, which is perfect. It was Wexner's Island all along, and here's a Q post, 3875, February 2019. And nobody ever talked to Wexner, but there it is in Q post telling us what's coming. Epstein, Wexner. The story goes much deeper and darker. That's exactly what we're talking about here. It's getting deeper and darker.
Yep.
You would never have even expected. And as a matter of fact, Epstein wasn't even arrested yet at this time.
That's right.
I don't believe. I think Epstein was arrested in the summer of 2019.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't that early, I don't think.
Yeah, so it was not a national story. After his arrest, then you had pretty much the beginning of universal name recognition. But that was just the beginning. But, here you are. And it goes back further than this. It's a very early post of 2017, October, November. You read Q, it's already like the centerpiece of the Q posts, Epstein's Island, the Satanism, the New World Order, at a time when nobody's heard of it. So, there's no question now we're seeing Q. I won't say prophecy. It's because he's scripting this. It's not prophetic. It's the forecast. He was giving us the game right here.
Yeah,
it's playing out clearly.
Mm-hmm. And it makes a lot of sense too, looking back on it now. They introduced Epstein as a household name by having him arrested, and then they added that element of intrigue of him supposedly killing himself, and a whole bunch of people, of course, in our community questioning that narrative right from the jump, and seeding that years ago. I mean, think about it. It was 6 years ago or 7 years ago that this whole process started. Yeah. And now we're finally, seeing the fruits of our labor here. Or I guess you could say the white hats, the script writers are seeing the fruits of their labor. But this is it's been a long gradual process to slowly introduce the public to, get them acquainted with these individuals and who they actually are. And now we have the spotlight squarely on them in relation to all of this satanic ritual abuse. So methodical.
That's the way it goes. I mean, that's what it takes to move the masses is the prep work. And I've said this frequently. This kind of reminds me of the way the deep state used to play the public in advance, well in advance, years in advance.
That's right.
Even a decade or more of big events, whether it's World War I, World War II, and Pearl Harbor. 9/11, the COVID hoax. You've got this constant awareness being put out there. How many movies were put out there about pandemics? Right. How many movies and news stories about the big bag Arab terrorists, long before 9/11, long before COVID.
Exactly.
And so it's in here. And so then when you drop the bombs, it makes sense.
Yeah, it's understanding the psychology.
Yeah, everybody now, everybody. I think if you were to approach 100 normies in a mall and say, what do you think about this Epstein stuff? Pretty bad, huh? Yeah, there's something wrong there. Everybody knows there's something there. They might not be passionate about it, but they know. So that's what I'm saying, that it's prime for the bombs to be dropped.
Yeah, well, I mentioned this, I think probably a couple times already, but it was so significant for me. I was standing in line to get coffee a few days ago, and there were some teenage kids, a group of teenage kids in front of me, and they were talking about Epstein. They were talking about the meaning of jerky, about grape soda, pizza. I mean, literally standing in a Dunkin' Donuts having this conversation, these young kids. So it just goes to show you the level that this is actually sinking into the consciousness of the public.
Yeah. I actually saw a video the other day on Twitter. Somebody just took it on his own initiative to go out and start talking to strangers out in public. He says, hey, do you know the emails are it sounds like they're talking about eating babies and children, the Epstein. What do you think of that? And the people were like kind of, I don't know. It sounds bad. I don't know.
Yeah.
You just got a sense that that whole mindset of dismissing things out of hand, if you hear words like satanic ritual or child killing, and it's gone.
It's gone.
So already the public mind's been transformed. They're open to it. Yep. I think that term conspiracy theory now, and even a mention of things like Satanism and ritual abuse, is just not going to evoke that automatic reflexive normie resistance. Seems like it's gone.
Yeah. Breaking down that matrix. And that normalcy bias that people have, where they would just dismiss things out of hand, like, oh, that couldn't possibly be true. And that seems to be all but gone at this stage of the game. Of course,
I really think if you were to approach 100 people with a clipboard and just do your own focus group and say, there's some really disturbing things in those Epstein's files. Have you heard? That suggest that there's child killing and abuse going on. Just to gauge people's reaction. I don't think you'd get too many who would say you're crazy.
Not anymore.
They might. So yeah.
Yep. And that just shows you, folks. People question the operation, the tactics. We can complain about it all day long, but it's working. We continue.
It's tedious and time consuming.
Yeah, it is, no doubt, but effective.
It is. It really does take time to change public thinking. We're undoing generational gaslighting and brainwashing. So.
And understanding the psychology of the public, which you talked about in your article, is so key to the reason that it had to be this way, but also the reason that it's been so effective in the long run.
Yeah.
Key portion of that as well. As I'm looking at your slides here, and I saw the headline, Democrats are taking the lead. Democrats are really skeptical about this whole thing, and it's like standing back and allowing the whole thing to play out. It really is genius, but it's lowering the drawbridge, so to speak, for people's defense mechanisms. They just eventually, you can only hear something so many times before you start to actually look in that direction and say, well, everybody else seems to be talking about this.
Right.
So
it's like the shots on the castle door, the battering ram. You don't get it on the first maybe 7 or 8 blows, and then you bust that door open. So that's what's happening. And then as far as the perception here of who is behind the disclosures here and who's pursuing the justice on the domestic front, it's the Democrats with a Q. All fake, all party operation. Ro Khanna, white hat, working with Trump for sure.
Oh yeah.
And then there's another element to it: is foreign governments are much further along than the United States is in investigating and arresting VIPs. Most prominent example of that, of course, is Prince Andrew. But there's some big people already in other countries lost their job. They're on the investigation. So now that's the criticism now, that Europe is doing more than we are.
Yeah, Mendelsohn was just arrested today.
Yeah.
Huge. Absolutely huge. They took him down. I think it was, I just saw the article came out today. Former British ambassador to the U.S., Peter Mandelson, arrested over his Epstein ties, suspected of committing, just like former Prince Andrew. Yeah, I'll show you.
Okay, I heard the buzz about him. I didn't know they arrested him. That's big, that's a big deal.
It sure is.
Yeah.
There it is. Boom. Same thing though. Misconduct in public office. They're going that route the same way they are.
Yeah. Just today. There you go. Beautiful.
Yep. Beautiful, right?
Yeah.
And there's more on the way. By the way, there was also
now this is an element of it that I didn't foresee. They're always full of surprises, the Q team, and then they pull it, and then you're like, oh yeah, I didn't think of that. That's brilliant. By having it break in Europe first, you add yet another level of defense, of protection for Trump.
Yep, and
the last thing you want is the sense that somehow he's engineering this, because if all of this would have happened a year ago, when those people came out of Pam Bondi's office with the binders, people believe it. They're like, yeah, Trump gets in there and he's pulling this bullshit, beef jerky. I don't believe it. None of that. Understand? Yep. But now you've got, I mean, no one's going to accuse the Europeans of being Trump's puppets or the Democrats, even though they're under his control. So here you have Trump, I mean, acting, of course, as the figurehead for the Q operation. They're blowing this up domestically. It's the Democrats, and then on the foreign front, it's other governments.
That's right.
So it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Yet nobody's arrested here,
and it increases.
Which just feeds the cure. Oh, it's like what's going on, and and then the criticism of Trump is intensifying, even within our own circles, MAGA circles, and that's perfect. What did he say? I take these slings and arrows. So yeah, there's a lot of people who still believe, a lot of MAGA people within our own ranks. I'm not talking about the shill black pill phonies, people who sincerely are disappointed and frustrated with Trump over this.
Yeah.
So
that's because they don't watch you, Mike. They don't watch our show.
Well, it's good. It's good that they do. It's good that they don't. I mean, we would like more viewers, but you imagine if this was universally known, it wouldn't work.
Like we say all the time, it wouldn't work. And there are a lot of people out there, and you're right, it is. The more negative animosity, more negative energy is being directed at Trump and Pam Bondi and Kash Patel, the better. And sure, it's pissing a lot of people off, but that's exactly the point. How do you mobilize people? How do you galvanize people around an issue? Well, it's like they say, the truth will set you free, but first it's got to piss you off. And that's exactly what they're doing. And by the way, more of this is in store. Just I know that everybody knows this, but just in case you think this story might be winding down, there was this today: breaking. Jeffrey Epstein stashed secret files in storage units across the U.S. that may include never before seen evidence for the New York.
Never before seen. Oh, wow!
They're just letting you know. It's like these burn bags that they keep showing up. Burn bags, new evidence. This is how they're doing it. They're keeping the story alive. So even though the DOJ is saying we're all done with the Epstein files, nothing to see here, no prosecutions, they're just going to pull from a different shelf. And they're going to take the evidence from here, take the evidence from there. Oh, we found another burn bag. Oh, we found a storage locker full of stuff, and that's how they're going to continue to drip it out. So
drip.
It's genius.
By now, the left. By the left, I don't mean the deep state players because they're all gone. I'm talking about that huge element of the population that even without their leaders there, they just hate Trump, and they'll always hate Trump. They got TDS syndrome.
Yep.
Okay. By now, they've been drawn into this. They've taken the bait. There's no way to link this to Trump. So that's perfect. So you've got a significant part of Trump's base turning on him. That's by design. Actually, Trump, I think it was just yesterday, he said, he acknowledged that some of his people, or own people, are turning against him, which is exactly what they want. So you're getting that left-right unity on this issue. But that's the important point. And we were told this early on in the Q posts. Trump has to keep his hands clean of all of this. And they've not only done that, they continue to perpetrate the ridiculous illusion that maybe he's a pedo too. That's fine.
Yeah.
Just
that's necessary.
That just stokes it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what's necessary because it's keeping the left engaged. They don't have to worry about the right. I mean, everybody on the right is, whether they're MAGA normies or whether they're anons, everybody's engaged with what's happening, what's unfolding. It's the left that has to appear as if they're spearheading this effort, and they've been able to achieve that brilliantly. I mean, it's all over. All over the headlines you just shared. The Democrats taking the lead. The Democrats are skeptical. They want to push harder. They want to go deeper. So that's exactly what you want.
Yeah.
The optics are perfect.
Yeah. And when the boomerang comes and they see, Hillary's involvement in Obama, and it will be credible, and they will be deeply disillusioned.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when you get the unity, left, center, right? As much as we want to shove things down their throats, like they've always done to us, Q is a little bit more calmer and wiser in that respect. They know in the long run, it's best to, however long it takes, to achieve total unity on this issue, transcend politics, and then have a unified country and world. Which is great, isn't it?
You need a dispassionate approach if you're going to achieve objectives. You really do.
Yeah.
Unify the country. You need to, you need to let go of that mentality. And that's what's so hard for a lot of us, is that we struggle with that. But ultimately what we want is victory, and lasting victory, the hearts and minds. The unity. America will be unified again. That's really what this all comes down to.
And that's why they're having Democrats and allegedly leftist governments in Europe are taking the lead. Not Trump. Epstein truth is not political. It will be, quote, bipartisan and multinational. This strategic decoupling from Trump and the right-wing conspiracy theorists is exactly what Q told us was going to happen. It really is a remarkable transformation that's taken place over the last year or two, because you could go back when the media was still free of Q control. This issue, you talked about child sex trafficking or Epstein. That's how they always framed it. Oh, the right wing is obsessed with pedophiles and just that mockery. It was totally associated in the public mind with the far right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a problem. And it's been completely reversed. It's been obliterated. It was very skillful how they pulled this off, and I had no clue that that's where they were going when they released those binders last year. Even though I was like, okay, hold on, we don't know. They don't get your hopes up. At the same time, I was hoping there would be some bombs, maybe the first few appetizers. There was nothing. It was a total nothing burger. Wasn't discouraged. I knew they were playing a game. Only now, in retrospect, we look back in the last year. It took 1 year to transform this issue from one that is near and dear to the hearts only of crazy right-wing conspiracy theorists to one that is now nonpartisan, multinational. All because of the way they played it. The Trump
I like how
it's a hoax. Margie Taylor Greene saying, I no longer support all that stuff.
Yep. The strategic decoupling from Trump.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, that really is exactly what they did.
Yeah.
And you're right. It took time, but it was worth it, because it's very, very effective. It's keeping these people out there who otherwise wouldn't be engaged with any of this stuff, and using, once again, like we talked about, weaponizing or repurposing and weaponizing the Trump derangement syndrome that set in over those years. They're basically just pulling that out of the toolbox and using that to keep people, to keep people baited until the ultimate rug pulls come. But in a sense, I kind of wonder, now that it's become a bipartisan issue and a multinational issue, when those big revelations happen, is it even going to constitute a rug pull for the left? I mean, for some of these people, yes, but you'd like to think that the main concern, it's tough to gauge. Is it really just trying to bring down Trump? Is that what it's all about for the left, or are they actually having some sort of a come to God moment where they're realizing, holy crap, like there's some satanic ritual abuse going on. Kids are being murdered.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen videos of people walking up the streets and up and down the streets of Manhattan with megaphones, just yelling and screaming at everybody that's eating kids. And so it seems to me like there is that part of it where they're using Trump as the bait, but in the process, people are having a spiritual awakening as they're being exposed to this evil. And that I would imagine that's what the White Hats want ultimately, is that they don't want this to just simply be a rug pull on the left, like, haha, we got you. See, Trump's not really in there, and now you got to deal with it.
Well, yeah, that's a good point. It's not going to play out that way. When I say rug, it's almost like they're going to be oblivious to the rug pull.
Right. That's
because
a good
the stuff will be so horrible, and by that time they won't even be thinking about Trump.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. But it will be credible now. It would not have been credible a year ago when they came out with those binders. To have Trump come into office in his first 100 days, do all this, they'll go into deep denial. They're like, I don't believe any of it. They'll say he fabricated those emails. It's all, they're deranged. Okay, that's what it means.
Yeah.
Now they're into it too deep, and when the rug pull comes, they won't even realize they've been rug pulled because this is so horrible. They're not going to continue to support Hillary. There's actually Q posts that say that specifically. That it's indefensible. It will be indefensible for these people. But you still had to get them to the point where they believe it.
Yeah.
Which would not have been the case a year ago.
Totally.
Now they will. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Next panel.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, this is great.
Yeah. Now this is one of those hot mic moments. You know, anytime you have one of these hot mic deals, that's total psyop every single time. It's just a way of getting a message out saying, "Oh, oops, we didn't know the mic was on." They're all deliberate. So here's a hot mic
everywhere, microphones everywhere, but they didn't think anyone was going to hear it.
Yeah,
sure.
I think this was replayed on Fox News as well. The lawyer saying to Wexner, "I'll effing kill you if you don't give short answers." What a joke that is. Nobody talks to a man of Wexner's stature like that, you know. Certainly not his lawyer.
Yep.
But again, this gets a lot of people thinking, like, boy, they must have got the Wexner. Who is this guy? They're threatening him.
Yep. Yeah. And it makes his lawyer
that just shows that the whole hearing was fake, and this is not Wexner. He's dead. You know.
Yeah. Right. It makes the lawyer almost look like his handler, even though we know that's not the case. But for the target audience, for the normies out there, they have to be looking at this and saying, "What the hell is this?" You know?
How can he be superior to Wexner?
Right. I'll effing kill you if you give if you answer a question with more than 5 words, and then Wexner laughs it off, shrugs it off.
Yeah.
The impact of that definitely causes people to ask some questions there, like what's this guy hiding? And
what force on earth can threaten to kill him like that? Who's he working for? Mossad? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right. Let's see.
And there's the shield symbol for the house of Rothschild. And
is that the coat of arms?
It's getting the coat of arms. It's very bad for the cabal when the Rothschild name becomes public.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a known name, but I mean public in a sense that it's connected to high power politics and nefarious activities. That's not supposed to be known. And they've hid that very well for centuries. You know how they got their titles of nobility? They got that from the very monarchs who they were plotting to destroy all along.
Right.
They thought they were loyal subjects with a lot of money that they could tap when they needed to go to war. They didn't even know. The monarchs of the 19th century didn't know. And even the early Anglo elite in the United States, early 1900s, didn't know. That's how well they've shielded their hidden political influence. Mm-hmm. And now their name is much better known, more so than any time in history. And I think we're going to be hearing more about the Rothschilds.
Yep. And it's like that basic fundamental principle that we always come back to. Would any of this be happening in a world where the cabal was still in control?
Yeah.
It's a resounding no. this point. Totally impossible.
Yeah.
And I know that the audience knows that, but it's good. It's good amidst the fog of war and the confusion of the movie to sometimes remind yourself of that. Like just take a step back and look at everything that's happening with the release of the files, the arrest of Andrew and Mandelson, and the deposition of Lex Wexner, the mentioning of the Rothschilds on mainstream media in conjunction with child sex trafficking, satanic ritual abuse. You take all of that, you just ask yourself that simple question: on what universe and what planet would this stuff ever come out unless there was a military operation going on behind the scenes?
That's right.
I mean, it's just so obvious.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's painfully obvious.
And yet,
people. I can understand somebody who's not, steeped in this, not seeing it. But I'm always amused by these characters, these black pill characters, who continue to say nothing's happened. But don't voice an opinion unless you've done your research. If you're not steeped in this, just say, I haven't studied the matter enough. But to say that Q is nonsense is.
Well, everybody's focused on the
we
want to see the justice, we want to see the arrests, all that stuff, and of course, no one's arguing with that. But people are missing. A lot of these individuals are missing a key component here, which is this is all about. I think we mentioned it earlier, the court of public opinion. That's really what this is all about right now. Everything, all of these optics we're being exposed to, it's about winning the hearts and minds in the court of public opinion while continuing to expose and drip out the truth. That's what's going on right now. All the other stuff has already been done. The justice, the executions, that's all going to get replayed to what degree, like we discussed last week. I don't really know, but it is going to happen. But again, there's no possible way that you could be in any way dialed into Q and be questioning who is actually in control behind the scenes.
Totally.
So, and the only reason I mention that is because, again, people continue to kind of fall off the wagon with the new scenes in the movie, the confusing optics, and a lot of the stuff that goes on gets people to question things. Like you say, go back to first principles and rest on that plane. That's exactly.
There's actually an early Q post, not early, but maybe 1,000 posts in. Q reposts a post from another Anon complaining, we haven't seen a single arrest. And Q's response is, just because you haven't seen them, don't think nothing's happening.
That's right. And there was another Q post basically mirroring what you just said, that people shouldn't weigh in unless they have. I can't remember what it was exactly. But I remember something along the lines of, like, if people who don't understand the dynamics that are at play right now really shouldn't be weighing in on giving their opinion, because they don't have a clue. It's like it's like me trying to weigh in my opinion on astrophysics. I don't know the first thing about it. But it's an important reminder for everybody out there. So all right, next panel here. Let's see what we got.
What do we got here? Okay, so it was great to see the beginning of Rothschild name mentioned in mainstream media, or at least Fox News, and then Wexner is all over all the media. It's the second time that Jesse Waters mentioned the Rothschilds in a week. And my closing paragraph here is: the recent name drops of former untouchables such as Wexner and Rothschild are music to the ears, but the one name which advanced Q-tards anxiously await to be dropped more so than any other is that of Rachel Chandler. That's because we were told specifically in Q Post 31316 to, quote, watch the news for the introduction of this mysterious character who is a satanic baby and child trafficker to the stars. The sudden introduction of the monster Chandler will be the ultimate signal for the Q brigades to mount up and charge toward the saddles of the gun. And she is a monster. I mean, you've seen some of the image posts taken from her own social media back during the time when they felt themselves invulnerable, and they were post all this crap on their Twitters and Instagram. Horrible stuff. But that's the name we're supposed to watch in the news. So we haven't heard it pop in the mainstream news yet. However, Marjorie Taylor Greene with a Q, she's all over the news, and she dropped Chandler's name in the next post a couple months ago. And I would remind people that we were also told by Q that Prince Andrew was, quote, deeply connected to Chandler. That's Q post 3152 and 4579.
Mm-hmm.
And Andrew is now all over the news. So we're getting very close. But that is one of the signals. I mean, the ultimate signal is the 5-5. My fellow Americans, the storm is upon us, right?
Right.
But this one to me is a close second because of what Rachel Chandler is so involved in and how horrific it is. So once her name is dropped, it means that we're getting to the nasty stuff in the public realm.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you. And I've been thinking a lot about this because Andrew, first arrest. The first arrest will verify action. I think it's certainly checked off that box. The Q team has verified action. They've arrested a member of the royal family and confirmed future direction. It seems to me like they checked off those two boxes with Andrew as it relates to the big central issue here of Epstein, sex trafficking, pedophilia, satanic ritual abuse. I almost wonder if the first unsealed indictment, because there was always that presumption that we're going to see the first unsealed indictment happen first, and then it was going to be the first arrest, or perhaps it could be the same individual. But I'm almost wondering if Rachel Chandler being the first unsealed indictment will trigger a mass pop awakening, because that name has been floated out there quite a bit in terms of like you said, in the Q posts in our community as being a fundamentally key part, a connecting piece to the entertainment industry, the stars, Hollywood, etc., which would undoubtedly trigger a mass pop awakening. So just a little speculation there. I don't know, but the fact that we're kind of, we're zeroing in here on all the right players, all these characters, kind of makes you wonder. Was that your impression when you heard about Andrew's arrest? Like, oh, first arrest, that's the one Q's talking about, or are you still kind of unsure about it?
I don't know. I was always like thinking first big name American arrest. So that kind of took me by surprise.
And it may be, it may be.
Yeah,
I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just.
But it would definitely fit that category. I mean, how does a member of the British royal family lose his protection all of a sudden?
Yeah.
Is anyone questioning that?
Yeah. And it took them a long time to kind of whittle down. I mean, they started with Prince Andrew going back to the early days of Epstein being a national story. Andrew was like the first guy who was really in the spotlight doing all those interviews, squirming, and then they took away his royal titles. They essentially excommunicated him from the royal family. So it was a gradual process, and then boom, they arrest him. It took a long time, but it does make one wonder if that was exactly who Q was talking about.
Now something serious has to come out because you've arrested him. Mm-hmm. And he was stripped of his title as Prince of Wales, not because of doing anything illegal, but just inappropriate. The girl's 17, he's royal family. You don't get arrested for that. 17 is well above the age of consent. So there's something else he did, other stuff. So there's a whole new level now. Yeah.
And it's interesting. They're charging both Mandelson and Andrew with misconduct in public office, which, by the way, is not a small offense. This carries it can carry a life sentence. They take that very seriously.
Yeah, I mean, it's vague depending what the misconduct was, but they keep dropping that. Could be a life sentence. Mandelson's a big name, by the way, in Britain. So Andrew followed by Mandelson. Mm-hmm. So that's good. Let's see this keep developing.
Yep.
Imagine if Europe catches fire, and here we are, nobody quote unquote arrested.
That's right. And those are the optics.
And I don't know. There was I don't know if I had that in the presentation. I might have left it out. I should put it.
Oh, you still have a couple more slides.
Oh, there's more. Yeah, I did. Did I put that tweet in there from General Flynn?
I don't think so. I think we had some shots of Rachel Chandler.
Okay.
And I believe,
well, Flynn tweeted, "Okay, that's great for Europe, but what about in this country? When are we going to arrest something like that?"
Yeah, I think that was in your article, but I don't think it made it.
So that's where the storyline's going. If they keep, you imagine they keep arresting and locking up and investigating these big Europeans, and there's nothing going on here.
Yeah,
that will really inflame the. So that's perfect. This is Q Post 3136, March of 2019. If the records become unsealed, much will be revealed. Watch the news for Rachel Chandler.
Yep.
So there's Rachel with Bill Clinton. And this is from Rachel's iPhone. And Q says they took iPhones in there. They're stupid. There's a Q post about Jeffrey Epstein spending $20 million to destroy the tunnels or fill them in with concrete, whatever, on Epstein's Island, because he knew they were onto him. Mm-hmm. And he says, well, these people took pictures on their iPhones. They're not too smart. So they know everything that's in the tunnels. But this is from Rachel Chandler's Instagram. So these are security cameras from Epstein's in the basement. You see a bunch of kids seated there. So there's different levels to this. There's people go there just to have a good time with teenage girl, right? Then there's others who get into children, the snuff, the torture, the eating, that sort of stuff. Yep. So these they have it all. The NSA has it all.
And it came out in the files, by the way. It's not even a question that he had tunnels underneath his temple. I mean, it's a known fact at this point.
And this witch evidently thinks it's a big joke. She just put it on her Instagram. It's really wild, the stuff these people were posting.
Oh, yeah.
During the days when they felt they were immune and untouchable. Yep. And then later on, they scrambled it's too late.
Yeah, the internet's written in ink. Yeah.
You can delete whatever you want. It's too late. Internet is forever. Yep. So it's very striking, not just for the horror of it all, but just the supreme arrogance that they.
Well, that also tells you the level of which they were in control or believed themselves to be.
That's right. Yeah.
Flaunt this stuff in front of all of us. And it's like you often talk about the duper's delight element of it, where they just, they get off on throwing it in people's faces, and either people don't recognize what it is, or they, even if they do, they can't do anything about it. They get a sick thrill from that. And it just shows you how far down the road of evil we actually were and what we were spared from. And this is going to be a huge revelation, I'm sure, at the end of the movie. I continue to believe that there's going to be some element of disclosure of the operation to really drive home to the public what we were spared from. Yeah. But that's a conversation we've had before for another day, which I'm sure we'll revisit at some point. Okay, so I think we had one more. Oh, yeah, these were.
Okay, these are direct from the Q boards.
Yep.
They are reposts, again, of images from Rachel Chandler's social media. And you look on the left. There's Rachel and two people. They all have that vibe to them. They look like they're Satanists with this little baby. Whose baby is that? What do they intend to do with that child? I doubt that child is alive. I think that child was, God knows what they did to torture it, and then they ate it. And on the right, there's two young girls. Well, they look like they're having a good time. So apparently they must be the type of children who are raised into this culture. And they're conducting a mock child sacrifice inside of a satanic pentagram. That's her social media. It's hers. Okay. So we're told to watch the news for Rachel Chandler, and we're getting close with the Marjorie Taylor Greene comments connected to Andrew. That's why this can be so explosive. That's the importance of it, because how do you separate Rachel Chandler from this? You can't. This is the essence of Rachel Chandler. So if Rachel Chandler is in the news, then this stuff is in the news. It's already in the alternative news. It's all over the TikTok, the Twitter, to a very large extent. Yeah. But this is the type of stuff where, the little bit of seepage that's getting into the mainstream consciousness will bust open and become a flood. Yep. This is when people really start to get engaged.
And it could come, the Rachel Chandler name could come from lots of different directions. I mean, it could come out of Prince Andrew, what's going on with him.
Yeah.
Also know that Billy Boy Clinton, same guy who was pictured with her in the last panel, is being deposed at the end of the month. which to me signifies a massive escalation. We don't know how they're going to play it, but once the Clintons start getting involved and speaking directly, to the powers that be in the context of the movie, we've kind of crossed the Rubicon into entirely different territory where the real deep dark stuff is about to come out. In terms of Haiti, the Clinton Foundation, the Wiener laptop. We really have only just scratched the surface of exposing this evil. So, who knows? But as soon as Rachel Chandler's name gets dropped in a major way, after Marjorie Taylor Greene foreshadowed it, I think we're kind of off to the races at that point.
Yeah. And if Q says, watch the news, well, what was the other time Q told us to watch the news? You remember? Watch the news, no name, meaning John McCain is going to be in the news. In 30 days. And indeed he was. They called his execution right to the day. So she will be dropped in the news. I am convinced. And that's a major advancement in the public disclosure. There's the Flynn tweet I was talking about. I did publish it. Okay.
Yeah, you did.
This was actually on the website. Yeah.
I got that on the website. Yeah. I just pulled it up there so you could comment on it.
Yeah.
But just to show folks there, but you kind of already did. So
yeah.
Yep.
So, General Flynn is playing this role of, and others, many others, I guess Q black pill.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You got, and even the ones who are truly black pillars who are trying to embarrass Trump, they're walking right into the trap because they're feeding this. But General Flynn writes, the Brits can arrest a royal. Why can't America arrest blank? Provide a name, please. So that's how they're playing this. They're just going to continue to fan the flames of curiosity. Why are the Europeans arresting all these big people? There's not a single one in the United States. What's going on? It's perfect. Yeah.
Indeed. All right. Well, amazing job, Mike, as per usual. Let's go ahead, and we still got a couple more segments to get through, and we're an hour in here. So let's just go ahead and keep it rolling. The next article is what we talked about. We previewed at the beginning. Why did the Supreme Court with a Q betray Trump? So we're switching gears a little bit here, talking about the tariffs, but there is a very important connection to be made as well with a certain Supreme Court justice. So take it away, Mike.
Big story. They're making a big deal out of this. I mean, there's top senators, Q York Times. So now we're being told that Trump is at war with Chief Justice Roberts and other justices. So what's going on here? I mean, the first thing that's impressive here, well, first we have to understand there's no way the Supreme Court has been in session. That's why I call it the Supreme Court. I'll explain why. Let's go to the next panel here. See what this game is all about. So I call it the Roberts in quotes Supreme Court. Roberts has been dealt with, I believe, and all of the decisions that came down from the court are not from this cast of characters. Let's consider these amazing decisions that nobody would have expected to come out of any court. I mean, maybe you could see a Clarence Thomas or Samuel Alito voting this way. But these were all 6-3 decisions. Roe versus Wade was overturned. I never thought I'd see that in my life. It was overturned 6-3. There was a school prayer decision that went in favor of I think it was a high school teacher, football coach, was conducting voluntary prayers at a public school. They ruled in his favor that, yes, you could do that. Again, you wouldn't expect people like Kavanaugh or Amy Colby Barrett or, they're like kind of center right to do this. But these are bold decisions that no other court could even touch in the years past. They overturned a ban on bump stocks, which was an attachment for a semi-automatic rifle through which you don't have to keep pulling the trigger. You can just hold the trigger and the bullets fire. It curtailed the tyrannical power of the EPA. This is huge. The EPA cannot regulate CO2, which is just harmless plant food. But what they were doing is they could choke off American industry under the phony pretext of we have to save the planet. Took away all that power. And then there was the Chevron decision, which also stripped all the other three-letter agencies of enormous regulatory power. And it effectively banned anti-white discrimination in college admissions, and that's already bearing fruit. It's already changed. More whites are being admitted. They can't discriminate. And by logical extension, this is seeping into corporate America. So the systematic hiring, firing, promoting discrimination against white people was ended by the Supreme Court. And, you know, these sound like reasonable decisions, but in the context of this culture and all the destruction of the last 50, 60 years, this is really radical stuff. Nobody expected it.
This is breaking down pillars of the New World Order right here.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's probably more that I missed.
Oh, yeah.
But now we're told that the Roberts Supreme Court has told Trump to stick it on tariffs. It doesn't make sense. And where did they get off weighing in on the tariffs anyway? I don't know. But what happened? There's something strange here. It doesn't make sense. And even the New York Times article notes Mr. Trump had an extraordinarily successful run before the Supreme Court. That came to a sudden, jolting halt on Friday when Chief Justice John Roberts, writing for 6 members of the court, roundly rejected Mr. Trump's signature tariffs program. It amounted to a declaration of independence. So what's the game here? How did the Supreme Court, with a Q, all of a sudden revert back to a deep state court? Well, the court's not in session, but we're going to explain what happened here.
All right.
And again, this just goes contrary to everything that's been happening in recent years. This is a legal magazine headline: "Legal Wash: The Supreme Court's Hard Right Turn." So that's what's strange. It's just been hard right MAGA, part of the operation, and now they just overturned Trump's tariffs. Of course, they didn't. Trump just unilaterally increased them now, he said.
It actually gave him... He actually gave him more.
This is all theater, no different than the fake hearing with Les Wexner. All theater. So what's the game here? Let's have a look. Okay. John Roberts, we all pretty much agree, is a deep state guy. How evil he is, we don't know. He seemed like he was a center-right type justice. All of a sudden, under Obama, he starts changing. I mean, we had an opportunity to kill Obamacare, and he saved it. He saved the mandate, which is unconstitutional as hell. How can you save an American citizen who can't afford health insurance? Or you're going to get health insurance, or we're going to penalize you?
Right.
So a poor guy already is in a spot, can't afford health insurance. Now, and on top of that, he's got to pay a fee for not getting it. How is that constitutional? But that's how Roberts ruled. He saved Obamacare. There were other decisions too. So even going back to when Obama was president, there was a speculation. And long before anyone was talking about Epstein, that there's something up. They might have some dirt on this guy. Why is he ruling like as if he's Ruth Bader Ginsburg? Very strange, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, this isn't going to matter. Trump's going to raise tariffs 50. This is all theater. People now are making a big deal about what's going to happen. But you have to reimburse all those tariffs. This is theater.
Not going to happen.
Ignore that. This is not a setback against Trump. And I even got some emails from readers who were like concerned. Like, no, this is theater. Okay. Mm-hmm. Question is why?
That's right. You look for what the objective is, but don't question the fact that it's theater. I mean, again, you can't have multiple different conflicting narratives. Yeah. You can't say that it's a movie only when it's convenient, and then all of a sudden, throw that out the window and get really super upset about something like this. I mean, you're either watching the movie or you're not. The military is either in control or they're not. We're either under continuity of government or we're not. You can't really be sitting on the fence here at this stage. as far as I'm concerned. Again, like you said earlier, people who are newbies, who are just kind of still getting acclimated, it's understandable that they're going to get confused as hell by
Of
all
course.
these. We've all been there. But at this late stage of the game for Anons, honestly, if you're getting worried about this, the tariffs, the midterms, anything that comes up along the way that they're going to try to stoke the fear and use to direct people's consciousness in a certain direction, you just have to understand that there's an objective behind it, and there's always going to be more information. There's not been a single case that's happened where we haven't had an event that looked very suspect on the surface, that after we waited the 48-hour, 72-hour rule, we didn't have a different perspective on it. It's yet to happen. So
that's right. And sometimes it might take a few weeks or a few months, or like with Lutnick. That was a head scratcher.
Yep.
This guy's totally involved with 9/11. He doesn't show up for work. Another one of those guys. But now we're seeing Lutnick is being looked at, right?
Mm-hmm. People are noticing,
and I don't think that's him either. But I even had a couple Sunshine Patriots write, "Oh, the Supreme Court shut down his tariffs." Oh, don't tell me, Mike. Movie, right? Well, yeah, movie.
Yeah, it is. It actually is.
You have to understand you're watching a movie. Q told us many times we're watching a movie. It's so obvious you're watching a movie. You've got to interpret everything in that context. Right. So this is not a defeat for Trump.
No.
So,
and even a quick, and just really quickly, I mean, even a quick Google search would have told you that there were many other existing laws that would give the president the power to levy tariffs. This was just done under emergency, circumstances. They ruled against that. But even if you didn't have the context that we're watching a movie and you were worried about this issue, if you looked into it, well, what are Trump's alternatives here if the Supreme Court rules against them? And there's like literally pages and pages of legislation that he can use in order to do exactly what he's doing now. Why people got so upset about this, I don't really know. But anyway, I digress.
So, well, Trump gives us an early clue of where this might be going. Press conference. And again, all these press conferences are rigged. All the reporters are part of the 60,000-man secret army.
Right.
So they're asking the questions that they're supposed to ask, and Trump responds about this decision. The justices were very unpatriotic and disloyal to our Constitution. Disloyal. It's my opinion that the court has been swayed by foreign interests. And then the reporter presses him to elaborate. And then Trump replies, what foreign interest? Oh, you'll find out. Much like when he was asked about the storm, you'll find out. Mm-hmm. So that's very intriguing to say the least. Trump has just said that the Supreme Court is under control of foreign interests. Who might that be? Interesting. So
I wonder. Could it have anything to do with the first segment that we were talking about? No?
Foreign interests. And I wrote in the article that Chief Justice Roberts in quote marks has long been suspected of being under some sort of blackmail, and that, like I said, that goes back even when he saved Obamacare, long before Epstein was on anyone's radar. Coincidentally, the name John Roberts appears on one of the Jeffrey Epstein flight logs. Yes, the full name itself is surely more common than most other names, but given the other contextual details and Trump's comment about foreign influence, it's enough to make a self-respecting Q-tard go, Now, how many John Roberts are there that would be, your ordinary Joe Blow is not going to be on that Epstein flight log. It's going to be somebody who's got some sort of position in media or academia or journalism, etc. There is a John Roberts at Fox News, White House correspondent, but guy strikes me as a white hat. Matter of fact, you look at his Twitter post there, he looks like he's wearing a white hat, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
His avatar. But he was quick to say, it appears that some people missed my previous tweets about this. The John Roberts referenced in the flight log is not me. I did not know Epstein, and I have certainly not flown on any of his aircraft. Full stop. So he's letting us know it's not him. And yet at the same time, he's also increasing the intrigue. Well, what other John Roberts is there? Well, it ain't this guy. And it's interesting. The Chief Justice, John Roberts, never put out a similar tweet, did he? In spite of all of this speculation all over the internet. Yeah, I would definitely bet some shekels that's him on the flight logs. I think you're pretty safe there.
Yep.
Unless somebody could come up with another John Roberts who's part of the elite class. I can't think of any.
Yeah, well, he was pictured in the hot tubs with Hill Clinton, weren't there pictures of him with
well, there's a picture on the beach. It's like a side, kind of turned away. Could definitely be him, but you don't see his full frontal. Okay. And he's there at Bill Clinton and another fellow whose name I forget was into bestiality, like sex with animals. Right. And there's a guy off to the side, turned, similar body type, looks a little like him from the back. Probably him, yeah.
Right. I'm trying.
There's another one that purports to be him snuggling up with Ghislaine Maxwell. I don't think that's him.
Yeah.
But this other one who's in he's in the water at the shore on an island with Clinton and some of the others does look like him.
Oh yeah, I think I found it. This picture here. Yeah, I don't know. Now that I'm looking at it, I'm not really sure if I have the right picture. I believe I do. This is the one I was talking about. Is that the one you were referring to?
Yeah. Now there's another version of this where it includes somebody off to the left. And I don't know if that was inserted or if it's real, but it's the same,
tough to know. Yeah.
It's tough to know. And I don't know if it was tampered with or not, but I mean, that picture's real, but I mean, it just fits. It just fits the whole profile of somebody who's, either willingly sold his soul or maybe got entrapped with some kind of blackmail, because he was making all of these weird court decisions that did not fit his judicial resume. He's always been a center right guy,
right?
And he's arguing in favor of that ridiculous Obama mandate. I mean, you don't even have to be a law school student to figure that one out. How can you fine somebody for not having health insurance?
Mm-hmm.
It's not only unconstitutional, it's wicked. Kick somebody when they're down.
Right. Well, I mean, one thing is for sure, it looks like that Trump is teeing this up to expose the Supreme Court in a major way. I mean, these are not words that, and we also know that whenever Trump says something, it always ends up proving to be true eventually. The opinion that the court has been swayed by foreign interests. And you also had the quote up there of disloyalty to the Constitution. It reminds me of a word that begins with a T. So it seems that John Roberts would be the guy. He fits the profile perfectly, like you said, of somebody that Epstein would want to get leverage over. Or perhaps I should say the people that Epstein works for want to get leverage over a Supreme Court justice, of course. Absolutely. So, we're kind of triangulating here, but it seems very, very likely that they're headed in this direction when he's saying that you're going to find out that the court has been swayed by foreign interests. That's treason.
Yeah. That's treason right there. He's just essentially saying that these justices are guilty of treason.
That's right. Yeah. So, and that's a huge statement for the president to make.
It sure is. And I would also like to mention that, and again, consider the context here, that this is the Q York Times. So sometimes you have to read these articles almost like QComs, right? And it said in the article that it could make for some interesting drama on Tuesday night, the State of the Union address, because typically the Supreme Court justice, some of the judges are going to be right there in the front row.
Yeah. He's going to say something about the decision. He's not going to just let that.
That'll be interesting, because that's interesting timing, because it's just 3 days before the State of the Union, so-called State of the Union in quotes address.
Yep.
And there's that's an actual image. It was also reposted by John Roberts of Fox News when he was saying that's not me, but that's an actual image of a flight log that came out that's got a bunch of names on it. One of them is John Roberts on the Lolita Express.
Yeah. And
there's a previous, this might have been last year's State of the Union, or is that this year's? Well, yeah, there's Melania with her Undertaker outfit on, right?
Yep.
And there's Trump, or somebody who kind of looks like Trump, given that point, pointing at John Roberts, just like he pointed at Obama on the day of his inauguration. So that's like a calm too, like as in, I'm going to kill you. You're dead.
You saw the old video of him doing the pedo swirl and then pointing at Epstein, kind of making a gun. It was an older video that's resurfaced after the Epstein files came out. I don't have it on hand, but he's been doing that for a long time. And there's been, there's people have said, well, Trump points at a lot of people. He's pointed at Flynn. He's pointed at other individuals that we recognize as good guys.
Yeah.
So it's not a universal thing when he points at someone necessarily meaning they're bad.
Yeah.
But in this case, no doubt about it. But I really like that. I wish I had that one where he did the pedo swirl. He was right next to Epstein, did the pedo swirl, and then he like pointed it into a gun at him.
Yeah.
So he's known for a long time. This process has been going on for a long time.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we had one more. Oh, no. Okay. So this is actually going to be our final segment for tonight. So let me go ahead and pull this down, and we're going to do what we do every week. We're going to pull up Mike's incredible website, realnewsandhistory.com, and have him talk a little bit about his work, his mission in general, what he does, the void that he fills that I talk about and praise him for every single week inside of the movement, being able to connect the dots between the real history, the correctionist work that he does, and everything that's playing out in the movie, the Q Operation, and how you can support him, get his books, follow his Rumble channel, his X, etc. So Mike, take it away. Let me pull up your website here.
Well, there you go. realnewsandhistory.com. Fake history is the fake news that has passed into the rearview mirror. And that's what I do at the website. I weave together the corrected history with the corrected news. And it's all like one single narrative. And, you'll have an appreciation for these historic times we're living in. Much better appreciation when you understand the history behind it. And how long and how vast, how treacherous this New World Order cabal, its activities have been for 250 years. I mean, consider it was the Rothschild family that got together with the British elite and funded the takedown of Napoleon. That's more than 200 years ago. Okay. And here we are now. We're seeing, what are we seeing being taken down? We talked about the Rothschilds. We talked about Prince Andrew. It's that same crime syndicate. So a lot of the content is free, very user-friendly website here, easy to navigate. But you really want to get a broader understanding and don't be intimidated by learning history, because I know for a lot of people it always seemed boring and confusing, didn't make sense. That's because it's taught the wrong way. You take advantage here of my Mike King University offer. That's $29. You get all 34 books and booklets in PDF format. It's going to cover everything you need to know. And they're so easy to read, clear, concise, lots of images. So those are that's the PDF offer. If you like the books in physical format, I've got an Amazon page, which is Mike S. King, and you can get the books that way. Just look at some of these titles here. This is one that every Anon should have. The Secret Plan to Save Humanity, rather than the Q Operation, Commander Trump, because it's an ideal intro. I mean, you're not going to learn much new in this, people who are watching this show, but for those newbies and normies in your life who are beginning to have questions, and maybe now they're a little bit more open to this whole thing of satanic cabal and all this stuff, Fox people, is a great intro. 1 hour read, just $14 and change on Amazon. We've done shows on this one, The Divine Selfie. The shroud of Jesus Christ, and the forensics, which prove that it's actually authentic. Dig them up. 40 people who've died suddenly, important people, politicians, world leaders. But they weren't killed by guns or bombs like conventional assassinations. They just had heart attacks at relatively young ages, right at the time when they were causing problems for the cabal. 9/11, crash course, 9/11, inside job. In time, this is going to be coming back into play.
Yep.
Already people are asking questions. Why there's no emails during that period of time, like just before and just after 9/11? What happened to all those? Okay. Because, Epstein's involved with that too, because these types of operations is how they used to compromise people to go along with it. The Bad War, real story of World War. This one you won't get on Amazon. It's banned, by the way. But you can get the hardcover version at realnewsandhistory.com. You'll see on the menu, WW2. And that's a very important red pill because everything is built upon the ruins of World War I and World War II. In fact, in the early Q posts, Q says specifically what families were behind World War I and World War II. Yep. Talking about the Rothschilds. So that's the books and the PDFs. I would also like to mention that I have a Rumble channel. If you go to the front page, from there you can link directly to my Rumble channel, the playlists. See that little box right on the front page? Yep. And there's 2 playlists in particular you want to go through. I got them nice and organized for you. One is the Q operation, Q post analysis. As you know, I'm doing a series now. I'm going through all 5,000 posts, and I'm breaking them down into increments of 200 posts, and I'm giving you just the essentials, cutting out the fluff, the redundancy, some of the things that are less important than the others, or some of the posts which nobody's ever even been able to figure out. But I'm taking about an hour to do 200 posts. So all said and done, that might be like 20 episodes when I'm done. People are loving this, even seasoned anons. And I just completed batch number 7, which is Q post 1,000 to 1,200. Okay, awesome. I'm not going through every single one, but I'm going through the most important ones. Mm-hmm. And I'm explaining it as you go, what this means. And I felt there was a need for this because this is such a vast, I mean, think about it, 5,000 posts, right? Yeah. Plus you need to correlate them with contemporaneous events that were going on at the time, and the Trump Q posts, which also run parallel at the time. It's such a vast subject. I mean, we take it for granted because we followed from the beginning or close to the beginning. So we digested it in small increments. Mm-hmm. Whatever, 4 posts one day, 5 the next, 1 the next, 0 the next. But for someone who's just being introduced to this subject, well, what a daunting task that would be to try to get your arms around 5,000 posts, right, and understand what they mean. But that's what I'm doing in this series.
Yeah, I love it.
If you're already a seasoned anon, even like yourself, you're still, there's a lot of stuff. Believe me, when you go back and reread it, you either overlooked it or you forgot about it.
There's a lot of stuff in there. I've watched the first, I think, 2 or 3, and there's a lot of stuff in there. There were a few things that I just didn't know that was news to me, but there were several things. I would say at least a couple of dozen bullet points or information points that were very important that I had just completely forgotten about because they were so early on. Yeah. And that this series is amazing, absolutely amazing. So
you want to binge watch this one, but still go in order. Start with the first one.
Yeah,
take your time. You don't got to watch the whole hour at once. You know, Rumble is, but go through them. And I'm trying to do like 3 to 5 a week. I want to get this done kind of quickly because I think things are heating up. Yeah. But I've got 7 done. So I have the probably tonight or tomorrow I'll record batch 8, which is 1,200 to 1,400.
Love it. Yeah, it's one of the best series that I think I've ever seen, quite frankly. And for people who are into this, I mean, it was obviously anybody who's watching the show, you know that Mike is a PhD level knowledge when it comes to the Q board. So you're going to learn some stuff. I guarantee you, no matter how much you think you know, you can go back and revisit some of this information. And even if you did know it, like we always say, it underscores it. It reminds you, it gives you a deeper appreciation and context of of the post itself and how it relates to where we're at right now.
That's right. Because what permeates throughout Q posts is this theme of future proves past.
Yep.
But then you forget a certain post that you may have read, and like, I don't know what that means. I guess maybe in the future it'll bear out. But now with all this passage of time, you see it.
Right.
And then there's the stuff you just frankly forgot. I mean, that happens. Sometimes I'll go through my old books that I wrote and I'll be reading them like, oh, I didn't know that. I'm like, wait a minute, I wrote it. How can I not know it? You just forget. It's just a lot of information, you know? Imagine if you went back to college and you had to take all your exams over. You'd probably
yeah. You forget most of the stuff you learn unless it's reinforced. That's kind of the way
that's right.
Works. And that's
so
why
it doesn't matter where you are on the learning curve. You could be a Q expert or intermediate. But even if you want to like help people who are like curious, because we all have our own circles, this is ideal because I start from the very beginning. And in my first episode, before I get to the Q posts, I established that precedent we always talk about the military white hats and the bonus army march and the Venona intercepts and how they infiltrated the communist movements in the 60s. They were always there. The white hats were always there. And they always knew this crooked stuff was going on, but they couldn't act on it. And that's what Q operation was all about.
Love it.
So, yeah. And then the other series you can access, again, through the playlist, which I link right on the front page of my website. You go to the master play. Is that one right next to it? The Rise and Fall of New World Order Cabal. Again, chronological sequence from 1 to 38. I take you on a epic journey, 300 years. Each of these episodes are like, I don't know, they average like 45 minutes. And you see the continuity of this thing. And you're going to understand it. It really is amazing when you consider this evil cabal that's been tormenting humanity for nearly 3 centuries.
Yep.
You can just go decade by decade by decade and see the common thread. So that really brings history to life. When you come to understand that the Rothschilds, the same Rothschilds that are mentioned repeatedly in the Q post, how they conspired to destroy Napoleon in France, it's really mind-blowing. And it's the same people today who, well, until a few years ago, held all this power. So this is PhD level history right here, just a vast amount. And I do the best I can in giving things a good treatment. Because, I mean, really, if you're going to go in depth in the 300 years, I would have to publish an entire encyclopedia and speak forever. But you could do that on your own if you really want to go further in depth. So this is like I always say, I try to strike a balance between keeping it simple and concise, but without being simplistic, you know, so you get the essence of it. So this is another series you're going to want to binge watch. You'll get so much from it. And then I've got other videos too that I do. So people are enjoying my Rumble channel, I'm happy to say. So you have the Rumble channel, the website, the Rumble channel, Mike King, /realnewsandhistory.com. Please make sure you follow me too.
Yeah.
And then the website, realnewsandhistory.com. And then, of course, the Amazon page if you want the physical books, Mike S. King.
Yep. And all that stuff is going to be linked in the description. And just to kind of piggyback off what Mike was saying, in addition to what you're going to get out of this material, I believe it's incumbent upon me to just remind everybody that Mike King does this professionally. He's been doing it now, supporting himself on this work for 14 years, which is a lot longer than I would argue probably most of the audience has been acquainted with him. It took a long time for him to build up this platform and this amazing body of work over 14 years, and even going back to the beginning of his awakening, which was like 30 years ago. So it's very important that we do everything that we can to support Mike in his endeavors and keep him basically keep his tank full and make sure he keeps going at full steam, because this is an individual that does work that's, quite frankly, nobody else is doing. It's truly invaluable to the movement, and we want to make sure that he is supported by everybody in this audience. And I know that my audience, again, I'm preaching to the choir. Everybody has been very responsive, purchased a ton of Mike's books, but I just want to make sure that we continue that process week to week and keep that in mind, because this is his living. So incredible stuff, Mike. Now, before we get into the final segment of the evening, I wanted to pause here because my good friend Mark from News Treason produced an incredible video. I shared it on my X. I shared it on my Telegram. It's called, it's a song that he produced called Who Saves the Children. And as you're going to see, he put together a music video that goes along with it. And he's doing all of this in order to raise money to support children, different associations out there that are dedicated to essentially saving, rescuing, and caring for trafficked children. And you can see on the, I'm going to post this in the link as well so folks can directly access this. Mark is asking that anyone who watches this, if you could just kindly make even a small donation to one of these charities. ARC is a great one. I actually made a donation myself to ARC just the other day in response. I was so moved by Mark's video. But there's also Shared Hope International, More to Living, America's Future. And as you can see, 100% of the money that you give is going to go to saving the children. And Mark has also offered, if you want to download the video that I'm about to show you, if you want to email him at fakenews7ny54 at protonmail.com and make a $5 donation to one of these charities, you'll get a free download of this song. So with that, let's go ahead and take a little break here. It's about like 4 minutes or so. Listen to the song. And just, be reminded, folks, that this is what this is really all about. This operation has always been about saving the children. There's various different aspects to it that Mike and I talk about every week, indeed. But the stuff that we've both been most focused on has to do with Epstein, child trafficking, pedophilia, satanic ritual abuse. And that's the number one issue for Mark as well. So with that said, why don't we go ahead and watch this, and then we'll be right back. So it was a powerful video. I hope everybody really enjoyed that and will help Mark out in his effort, because, again, this has really been an issue that he's been focused on almost exclusively. We know that Mark has been part of Dave and Mike's conversations, as well as he and I have done many shows. We've talked a lot of subjects, but this is the one that he really has focused on and dedicated all of his time and energy to. So again, if you want to get a download of that video, you can email Mark at fakenews7ny54 at protonmail.com. And then I'll put all of the links in the description for all these different charities. Really hope that folks will be responsive to that. And when you see a video like that, even though a lot of the images in there were from Spiritual Street Fighter, who's a good friend of mine who Trump retweets all the time, I generated, it still has that same powerful effect. When you see the military just breaking down these doors and rescuing these innocent children, and you think about the depravity, the evil, the just unspeakable evil that we're up against. It really is so, Mike, any comments before we shift gears here?
No, it's a good video. Very nice. That is the that is the foundation of the operation more than anything else.
Indeed.
Is the children, because it's it really is the vehicle by which you unite humanity.
It is.
And I mean, it's the worst of all the worst crimes. Okay, but apart from that, just from a strategic point of view, it is the way to take them down. Most of so.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah. Well, I knew that you would appreciate that, and I know that everybody out there, I'm sure, as well. So please do the right thing and make a donation, whatever you can afford, to one of these organizations. And I've actually looked into these different charities and vetted them to a degree. They all are legit. This money goes, like I said, 100% of everything you donate goes to supporting the rescue and really the rehabilitation of these children who have been rescued by the military to give them some shot at happiness and a normal life. And that's a big part of what we're going to be facing, I think, on the other side of the storm, as well as we piece back together our society, is reintegrating these children. And this is really important work. Mark's doing God's work. So I just want to salute him for that. And with that said, let's go ahead and move on to our final segment of the night, which is an article that, again, Mike, I said earlier in the show, I wasn't sure when you actually wrote this article, if this was something recent or we're actually revisiting.
No, this is a replay of a classic. I actually I remail this. I email blast this out maybe like once a year. It's a very, very powerful one. It's always had a strong effect on people, really tying things together.
Okay.
I might have done this, I don't know, 5, 6, even 7 years ago. So this one's been around. I just resurrected it again. I mean, because it's always timely. It's timeless. It's titled "Let the Bad Guys of History Speak." And you notice when you start to research history, read conventional establishment history books or contemporary accounts or History Channel, whatever, that seldom, if ever, pretty much never, do they quote extensively from the villains of history. If they do quote, it's something out of context. It's really weird. And once you understand that, if you could go back and read about these characters, you could just go online, Wikipedia, Britannica article, any book. And after a while, it gets you thinking, how come we never hear what they have to say? Especially in this day and age of internet. I mean, entire speeches and dispatches from, say, the German Foreign Ministry during World War II, or letters that Napoleon wrote, on and on. There's so much content out there. And it's just strange. The bad guys of history are not allowed to speak. They never are. And, I make a point early on in this article, serial killers, we let them speak. They get interviews on TV. Ted Bundy, the son of Sam killer David Berkowitz, Charles Manson. They get to rant and rave, say whatever they want. And, people see them. They see that they really are crazy or black-hearted, but they get to talk. The bad guys of history don't. Why is that? If they're so evil and insane, let's quote from their own words extensively to reinforce that point. But you don't. And that was something that always struck me. Like the first time I began reading Hitler quotes, I'm like, wait a minute. I never saw that in my history book. They never told me he said that, etc. So that's what I do in this piece. I take some select quotes from historical personages who have been vilified for eternity. And everyone just assumes that they're just the villains. And when you see these quotes, though, it makes you think. That doesn't mean we have to take what they say at face value. The broader point is, why is the other side of the story not presented to us? The reason is because when you have both sides of the story presented against each other, then the lie all of a sudden begins to crumble. The lie can only stand if it's unchallenged.
And without context, the all-important word that we always say, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
So let's see what these bad guys have to say.
All right.
Well, we'll start with Napoleon, right? He was supposed to be this conqueror, just wanted to subdue all of Europe, and Europe had to band together, funded by the Rothschilds, to stop him. Well, here's a letter from Napoleon. This is an excerpt from a letter from Napoleon to Tsar Alexander I. By the way, I wrote a whole book on Napoleon called Napoleon versus the Old and New World Orders. You can get that at my Amazon page. It's also part of the PDF package. An amazing historical figure. You start to read about Napoleon and you see Trump, you see Hitler. It's just the same template. But he writes to the Tsar Alexander I of Russia. The time has come for Europe to live in quiet, sheltered from the malicious influence of England. Why this war? What good is it to kill one another when our peoples have so much mutual respect, so many grounds to be friends? And that's just one. Same thing in addressing Austria. I mean, there's just a ton of receipts, actual letters that he wrote, texts of speeches that he delivered, always demanding peace. But this one struck me because he speaks of the malicious influence of England. Boy, times never change.
That's for sure.
And who funded England's last 2 or 3 wars? The Rothschild family. Okay, so there it is.
Do you see quotes like this?
He was fighting. Yeah,
it kind of upends the ruthless conqueror narrative that we've been taught about Napoleon. When you start to see all these quotes about him trying to advocate for peace, much like Hitler. I mean, we've talked about this before as well. We're taught right from the time we're old enough to basically understand anything about World War II that Hitler was this just Satan incarnate, totally evil, wanted to conquer all of Europe, wanted to kill everybody in his path, was the architect behind the war, on and on and on. And then you go and you look at his speeches and you start to say, well, wait a second. That's awfully strange for a guy who wants war and who wants to kill people and wants to enslave everybody and commit a genocide, for him to be advocating for peace so fervently. And it does. It causes one, like you said, to scratch your head and start to say, wait a minute, somebody's lying here. Who's lying to me?
And that's exactly how it was. It was always England, always inducing other countries to join their war coalitions. And that's why Napoleon went into Russia, and that's why Hitler went into Russia. That's something they don't tell you. Like, oh, why'd they go into Russia? That was their doom. Russia was being dragged into the alliance with Britain. That's why they went there. But 100%, Napoleon did not want any of these wars. In fact, he even married the daughter of the Emperor of Austria, thinking that would kind of make peace. But then Austria once again joined the coalition and went to war, and they overturned Napoleon. The Emperor of Austria then gives great titles of nobility to the Rothschilds, and then the Rothschilds, through stealth, overthrow the Emperor. I mean, they should have listened to him. The Habsburgs would not have ended up like they did, which is dead and exiled.
That's right.
So, and again, with every one of these cases I'm going to present here, I'm just giving you one quote, but I could produce books of similar quotes backed up by actions. The bad guys of history actually were not the bad guys of history. They're the victims of the cabal.
You have produced books.
On many of them,
already been done, But that would be an interesting concept, though, for a future book, the bad guys of history. That sounds good. The bad guys of history, in quotes. All right, let's go to the next one here.
Okay, the Spanish-American War. And the way this was spun, there was this intense propaganda was aimed at Spain, accusing them of really oppressing their Cuban colony, and that we should liberate Cuba. It's just, 90 miles off of our shore, and the Spaniards are evil, et cetera, et cetera. And here's some of the headlines. There was a whole propaganda journalistic rivalry going on between the New York World and the New York Journal. The respective publishers were Hearst and Pulitzer. They ended up naming the Pulitzer Prize after Pulitzer, which is appropriate because he's one of the founders of what came to be known as yellow journalism, fake news.
Yep.
You look at these headlines: bloodthirsty Spaniards blow up the USS Maine, destroyed by a torpedo. The New York Journal: destruction of the warship Maine was the work of an enemy. Assistant Secretary Roosevelt, that would be Theodore, convinced that the explosion of the warship was not an accident. So this was a total false flag and a false accusation leveled against Spain, used as a pretext to go to war. And even still, after this incident, President McKinley did not want to go to war, but they kept pressuring him. But what is the reality here with Spain? There's the Spanish ambassador to the U.S., Enrique de Lome. He wrote, "No Spaniard would be guilty of such an act," sinking the USS Maine. "The explosion must have been caused by some accident aboard the ship." This they did not report in those days. Everything was, Spain did it. Now, in retrospect, the fake historians say, it was some kind of explosion on the ship. The Spaniards didn't do it. So that's commonly accepted. But what a coincidence that it should explode at the precise moment that it arrives in Havana Harbor, having been ordered there as a provocative act by Teddy Roosevelt. And then it just happens to blow up. So it's definitely a false flag. But this was buried at the time that the Spaniards vehemently denied having anything to do. Why would they blow up this ship? What do they want a war with the United States for? But it was also untrue that they were oppressing the Cubans. That was also ginned up, that there was starvation, they're raping women, all that stuff, the usual atrocity propaganda.
Of course. Yeah.
Okay. But Spain denied the sinking of the Maine, and they were telling the truth. The bad guy was Teddy Roosevelt. What's next here? Okay, Germany in World War I. We talked about the Kaiser in previous episodes. He was vilified, demonized. They blamed the whole war on him when the reality is the war was imposed on Germany. Germany bears 100% or 0% culpability for both World War I and World War II.
Yeah, that was right. That we did.
I'll argue that with anybody. Yeah.
Was it a couple weeks back that you did that piece where you dug up all of that full spread of them talking about how great he was just a couple of years prior to starting the vilification process to justify the war? Same guy.
Yeah,
right?
That's right. They just changed when they needed the war. They just changed. Prior to that, he was praised as a heroic figure.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
25
And even
years.
you were surprised.
Right.
Even you were surprised by what you found there in the New York Times.
They were really gushing over him when it suited their purposes.
Mm-hmm.
But this is Kaiser Wilhelm speaking. The Slavs, meaning the Russians, have become unrestful and will want to attack Austria. He's talking about the Serbs and the Russians. Germany is bound to stand by her ally. Russia and France will join in, and then England. I am a man of peace, but now I have to arm my country so that whatever falls upon me, I can crush. And that is exactly true. The cabal wanted this war to blow up Europe and then establish a League of Nations on the ashes. Here's Kaiser Wilhelm telegram to his first cousin, the Russian Tsar, Nicholas, trying to avoid the coming disaster. I therefore suggest it would be quite possible for Russia to remain a spectator on the Austro-Serbian conflict without involving Europe in the most horrible war she'll ever witness. I think a direct understanding between your government and Vienna, being Austria, is possible and desirable. And all the telegrams prove this. He's trying to keep Russia and Austria-Hungary from going at it because he's bound to an alliance by Austrians, they're Germans, and then the Tsar of Russia is his cousin. He's trying to act as the go-between to settle everybody down. My government is continuing its exercises to promote peace. Of course, military measures on the part of Russia would be looked upon by Austria as a calamity we both wish to avoid and jeopardize my position as mediator, which I readily accepted on your appeal to my friendship and my help. And then Kaiser Wilhelm writes about Woodrow Wilson's efforts to drag America into the war. This is the end of negotiations with America once and for all. If Wilson wants war, let him prove it and then have it. Wilson totally wanted war. He was controlled by the cabal at Epstein. They had dirt on him.
Yep.
They had Woodrow Wilson by the balls. There was nothing they wanted the war, and then they ultimately wanted to bring the United States into the war. But you could read, they were called the Nicky Willie telegrams going back and forth between Kaiser Wilhelm and Nicholas. And there's communications with the French. And then there's an appeal to Wilson. Again, pleading for peace. Let's sit down. Mm-hmm. There's no denying this. Yeah, he's vilified by history. But when you read, you learn World War I in a history class. If they even cover it at all these days, I don't know. You're not going to read these quotes. Why is that? They just say Kaiser bad.
Yeah. That's what the educational system is, by and large, is to train you to be a normie and just accept things at face value and have drill narratives into your head without any context or real full broad spectrum analysis or explanation. So that trains you to do exactly what they want you to do when you get older, which is to just listen to what the mainstream media says.
Listen to teachers. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. But not anymore. Not anymore. That's the good news. We are upending their system. We've already done it. All right.
So a couple decades later, history repeats itself. It's Germany again. Germany had built itself up. All Hitler wanted to be left alone and at peace with his neighbors. This is from Hitler's final testament, his suicide note, in essence. 1945, April 30th. It is untrue that I or anyone else in Germany wanted war in 1939. It was wanted and provoked solely by international statesmen, either of Jewish origin or working for Jewish interests. Sounds like the same bunch that ran Epstein's Island. Just saying.
Yep.
I have made too many offers for the control and limitation of armaments, which posterity will not for all time be able to disregard, for the responsibility for the outbreak of this war to be laid upon me. I have further never wished that after the first fatal war, a second against England or even against America should break out. And there's hundreds of such quotes and speeches and writings and dispatches from the German Foreign Ministry. It's all here, original receipts. It's really astonishing. You see, I mean, the man almost crawled on his knees begging for peace.
Yep.
It's like, what do you want? Okay, I mean, whatever concession you want. There was this disputed territory with France. He said, okay, you guys keep it. There was this disputed territory with Poland. Okay, you guys keep it. Just let us link up to Danzig. He even said that nobody in Germany would have been able to make the peace concessions that I did and gotten away with it.
Yep.
Okay. Because he was so beloved, anybody else did, they would be considered weak or even treasonous, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was willing to give away the store to promote it. And that's the truth. Nobody can deny that. Again, Germany bears, that would be the Kaiser and Hitler, respectively, bears 0% culpability for both World War I and World War II. That's why, and by the way, the first time I came across this document, that's what started my red pilling on World War II. I said,
this one here?
Yeah. Hitler saying he never wanted war. I wouldn't expect that.
Yeah.
Could that be true? And then you start pulling on the thread. So that's why these the bad guys are not allowed to speak. Because, you know, any rational, fair-minded person hearing that the bad guy is categorically denying what he's accused of will at least want to hear further.
Yeah.
They don't want to give that opening.
Yeah, homicidal, genocidal maniac wouldn't likely be saying these things. and again, if it was just one simple quote, you could probably chalk it up and say, oh, maybe somebody took that out of context, or maybe he was, you know, he was trying to manipulate the other side. But when you see this pattern over and over and over, and that's why the way you laid this whole thing out is so important for folks to understand. It's not just one quote in isolation. Mike's written books on these people, whether it be Hitler or whether it be the Kaiser, or whether it be Napoleon and other individuals we're going to talk about. These are just examples, but they're not singular examples. There's a whole litany of evidence out there that completely upends the narrative that we were taught to believe about these so-called villains of history. And when the true villains are the Satanists, and when they're the ones who are actually writing history, what does that say about the people that they're vilifying?
That's right. The people who rape and eat babies are the ones who taught you history.
That's exactly it.
Okay? Or the people that at least protect the other people who engage in that activity.
Yep.
Like I said, fake history is just fake news in the rearview mirror.
Amen.
And by the way, you can also corroborate these quotes through other independent sources of what's going on.
Yeah.
You know, you kind of match it up to events. And then you start to more essentially cross-examine the things that Churchill said or FDR said, and you see the lies fall apart.
Mm-hmm.
So, no, these quotes are not out of context. They're just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, and then it's always basic part of human psychology, too, is once you realize that you've been lied to about about anything by someone, the next natural question is, well, what else have they lied about?
Yeah.
That's always what it comes down to. It's not just like you expose someone as being a liar in a singular context. It's really the much broader context is, well, if they're not telling me the truth about this, then they must have probably lied to me about other things. And that's really what sends people on their journey. So something like this could be a very interesting red pill for folks as well, too. Maybe some people who are willing to look at the historical examples, maybe they have the TDS, maybe there's too much going on in terms of the Q operation. But when you point out these types of quotes and you say, well, why would these homicidal maniacs be advocating for peace? And why would they be going out of their way to avoid the conflicts that they were supposedly the ones responsible for engineering? You get people to think about those questions. It can break down their matrix as well, without the stigma associated with where we're at right at the current moment. So,
the legal term is false in one, false in all. At some point, you have to just throw out all the history and then rebuild it. Mm-hmm. So here's another villain on the other front, the Asian Pacific theater of World War II, the Emperor Hirohito. And that image there, by the way, those are the charred remains of the United States firebombing of Tokyo. About 100,000, that was like a Dresden type deal, firebombing. 100,000 burned alive or suffocated to death.
By the so-called good guys.
The good guys. Yep. Tokyo, Hiroshima, Nagasaki. Just mass extermination of civilian population. Yeah. Lovely what they did to Tokyo.
It's projection of their evil, folks. I mean, that's really what the punchline is here. But go on.
And this is This is from Hirohito's declaration of war, issued the day after Pearl Harbor, 1941. It has truly been unavoidable and far from our wishes that our empire has been brought to cross swords with America and Britain, eager for the realization of their inordinate ambition to dominate the Orient, both America and Britain giving support to the Chongqing regime, that's China. Yep. FDR kept the war going and kept arming up China. Japan was asking FDR if he could act as an intermediary to end the war with China. And FDR just keeps inciting China and arming them. Have aggravated the disturbances in East Asia. Moreover, these two powers, inducing other countries to follow suit, increased military preparations on all sides of our empire to challenge us. They have obstructed by every means our peaceful commerce and finally resorted to direct severance of economic relations, menacing the existence of our empire. Patiently have we waited and long have we endured in the hope that our government might retrieve the situation in peace. But our adversaries, showing not the least spirit of conciliation, have unduly delayed a settlement, and in the meantime, they have intensified the economic and political pressure to compel our empire to submission. Every word he speaks there is true, can be independently corroborated, and I also have a book on this subject too. The Bad War focuses primarily on the war in Europe, but also in Japan, but this one is more exclusively about the war in the Asian Pacific. Japan's war of self-defense. Yeah, that's exactly what it was, not only against the United States and Britain, but prior to that, those powers, plus the communists, were using China to wage war against Japan. Japan did not want war. It's an exact mirror situation was going on in Europe. But that's the day after Pearl Harbor. And believe it or not, this entire speech was published in the New York Times.
Oh, wow.
The day after. It was like on an interior page. And then after that, you just didn't get any more of the other side of the story. But it's all true, what he's saying there. I mean, should it surprise anybody? He's saying the United States and Britain are bent on world conquest.
Yeah.
And that they're under the influence of the Jewish cabal. They also said that. He didn't say that.
Did he deliver this speech? Was this delivered after Pearl Harbor, or was it
after the attack? Yeah,
it was after the attack.
Like the day after. Yeah,
okay, got it. Interesting. Okay.
So he and it goes on to explain his reasons. So because by that time it was already inevitable. It was made clear the United States is going to war.
I was going to say, there was nothing.
They figured, let's at least push the United States out of the Philippines, Guam, get the British out of Burma, establish a defense perimeter. Let's at least get an early advantage.
Right.
Otherwise, if it keeps going the way they're going, the war's going to start on our goal line. You understand? So that was why they struck first.
Yeah. Yeah. Got it.
Iraq Gulf War #1. In that middle image there, you see the handiwork of Colin Powell, the Highway of Death. That war was such a rout, and they were in full retreat, not just the Iraqi soldiers, but also civilians following them. And they call that the Highway of Death. It was just a duck shoot, pure genocide, totally unnecessary. There's Saddam with his sons. All three of them would be killed after the Second Gulf War. But I want to read you a quote from Saddam Hussein from the run-up to this war. We know that you can harm us, he's addressing the United States, although we do not threaten you. We do not place America among the enemies. We place it where we want our friends to be, and we try to be friends. But repeated American statements last year made it apparent that America did not regard us as friends. And I remember the intense hype building up to this war back in the 90s. It was really intense because this is pre-internet days. Okay. Yeah. It was really strong, the build up for the first Gulf War. At one point, George Bush, the elder, I mean, he's like at 90% popularity. Everyone's putting flags up, yellow ribbons on it. It's like we're going to World War II. This was right around the time I'm starting to have my awakening. But we never got it. We never heard this quote. That you could be sure. It was just intense vilification of Saddam Hussein. Because, you know, people, you imagine if the news said, oh, Saddam Hussein released a statement today, so he wants to be friends, blah, blah. You know, that might make people pause and say, oh, it doesn't sound so bad. No, the bad guys do not get to speak. They tell you what Saddam Hussein is all about. Mm-hmm. And again, this is not out of context. Entire speeches by Saddam Hussein and his foreign minister and Tariq Aziz, same thing. You could dig them up on the internet. We don't want this war. Why does the United States go to war for Israel? Yep. You know, that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And interestingly enough, I don't know if you saw Tucker Carlson's interview with Mike Huckabee. I talked about that a little bit on my last show, but Tucker made that linkage there about, because, you know, Huckabee said, well, what Americans have ever put their boots on the ground for Israel? And Tucker just kind of sat back and was like, Iraq? And they got into it there. So they started, you know, I think they were really talking more about the second Iraq war, but it's still the same basic principle. We all know at this point that these were wars on behalf of Israel. All of these Middle East wars, every American boot that ever touched Middle Eastern soil post 9/11 has been on behalf of the Zionist government. Yeah. You know? So that's a big part of the awakening as well. We're starting to see more and more inroads being made there. And
here's Osama bin Laden after 9/11. How many people are aware that he repeatedly denied having anything to do with the attacks? He's on film, written statements. Here's one. I have already said that I am not involved in the September 11 attacks on the United States. I had no knowledge of these attacks, nor do I consider the killing of innocent women, children, and other humans as an appreciable act. There exists a government within the government of the United States. That's your deep state.
Yep.
That secret government must be asked who carried out the attacks. Total censorship. Although some of these quotes did appear, I think CNN had some of them on their website, but not on the nightly news.
Yeah.
You know, people never think to ask, well, what does this guy say? But no, we were led to believe he took credit because somebody found a videotape in Afghanistan, and it's supposedly bin Laden was bragging about, yeah, we got him. Oh, they found the videotape. I remember telling people that. How do you know that story's true? That bin Laden? How do you? No, they found the videotape in Afghanistan. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Kind of like they're finding evidence in burn bags, all this. I mean, it's beautiful how the white hats are reversing this whole thing, but it really speaks to the whole paradigm here, which is they don't want the American people to have all sides of the issue. That there's an agenda. Whenever an agenda is being pushed, there has to be deception involved, and that deception involves the silencing of whoever it is they're trying to vilify in order to get that agenda to be accepted by the people. They don't want, and they've never wanted people to look at all the facts, all sides of the issue, and be able to come up with their own opinion. That's the antithesis of what the media does, and all of our politicians in the deep state. That's the absolute opposite. They push agendas, and whatever aligns with that agenda, whatever aligns with that narrative, they put that in your face. Like you say, they flood the zone. And they get people to buy into it. Like that's just the whole scope of the story. But again, we always say normies are going to norm, and unfortunately, we don't. In the past, we haven't had a critical mass of people that have said, "Well, wait a second, you're only giving us your side here. Let's hear from the other side. Let's have a debate about what really actually occurred." I don't know if that ever really existed in American politics, but certainly not in my lifetime. I mean, I've just been subjected to nonstop propagandizing, as pretty much everyone else who's listening to the show for our entire lives. We've never really lived in that environment, and that's a big part of what we're trying to reverse. So, oh, what do you got going on there, Mike?
Right.
It sounds like.
There's a plow going on outside the office.
Oh, is that what that is? Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. All right. Always something. Here's the second Gulf War. Well, they ended up after the second Gulf War. They murdered Saddam Hussein, and this time around, he issues another statement to the American people. I address you in this letter from the place of my confinement as my attempt on the basis of my moral, human, and constitutional responsibility, so that no one among you might say that no one came to you with a message of peace after the war began, refuting the arguments for it and desiring any peace for you or for our upright, loyal, heroic people. Again, saying I didn't want this war. There's actually another statement where, before the war, issued an open letter to Congress to come to Iraq. And you can see all of our sites. We have no weapons. We're not developing any nuclear, chemical, biological. It's an open invitation. CNN stashed that on our website as well, but not on the news.
Interesting.
How many people know that Saddam Hussein had an open offer to send crews over there, and they could go anywhere they wanted unannounced? We have no such weapons of mass destruction. Can't let the good guy speak. So then after Iraq, they begin to build up for Iran. There's our friend Ahmadinejad. And he also, you see this with Gaddafi, you see this with Saddam Hussein. I mean, you see this often. You even see this with Hitler and the British during World War II. There's this attempt to circumvent the fake news, speak directly to people. Never goes anywhere. This reminds me of the flyers that Hitler used to drop on London, pleading for peace.
Mm-hmm.
Noble Americans, we were not faced with the activities of the U.S. administration in this part of the world and negative ramifications on these activities of the daily lives of our people, coupled with many wars and calamities caused by the U.S. administration, as well as the tragic consequences of U.S. interference. There was a really intense buildup towards war. I looked for a while on a couple occasions, both under Bush and later on under Obama, where it did look like they were going to hit Iran. Thankfully, we never did. That would have been an even far greater disaster than Iraq. But he continues, were the American people not God-fearing, truth-loving, and justice-seeking, while the U.S. administration actively conceals the truth and impedes any objective portrayal of current realities? In other words, we think Americans are good people, but you're being lied to.
He hit the nail on the head with that.
Yeah, definitely. If we did not share a common responsibility to promote and protect freedom and human dignity and integrity, then there would have been little urgency to have a dialogue with you. While divine providence has placed Iran and the United States geographically far apart, we should be cognizant that human values and our human spirit, which proclaim the dignity, exalted worth of all human beings, have brought our two nations of Iran and the United States closer together. This is not the language of a warmonger or a tyrant. And again, it's not just a single incident out of context. Nobody wants to go to war with the United States. To the contrary, everybody goes out of their way to plead for friendship.
Yep.
This too, again, totally censored. They might stick it on a website somewhere just so they could say, "Oh, well, no, we reported that."
Yep.
But this should be on the nightly news, front and center, so the American people can assess what's going on. They don't want that.
Yep. And I love how he points out the difference there between our so-called leadership and the people of the United States. You know, God-fearing, truth-loving, justice-seeking, recognizing that that's the true character of the vast majority of this country, not the administration that, as he puts it, actively conceals the truth. This is what I was saying before, really, but far better stated, impeding any objective portrayal of current reality. That's exactly what they do. Brilliant.
And then Libya, Gaddafi, murdered by the deep state. There's Obama, like when he first becomes president. I guess Gaddafi was under the impression that there was going to be a difference. What a snake. There he is, greeting him, shaking his hand. All the while, he knows he's going to kill him.
Yep.
And you see on the far image there when his death is reported. There's Hillary gloating about it. We came, we saw, he died. She was Secretary of State. Satanic witch. Loves to kill people, loves to bring down airplanes. Yeah, I could see her slicing the face off of a child easily. Demonic creature.
Some of us have already seen it.
Yeah.
You go in the
so here's what Gaddafi says. Again, mirroring what Saddam had said. Quote, Americans are good people. They have no aggressions against us, and they like us as we like them. They must know I do not hate them. I love them. I hear it as a complex society inside. Many Americans don't know about the outside world. The majority have no concern or information about other people. They could not even find Africa on a map. I think Americans are good, but America will be taken over and destroyed from the inside by the Zionist lobby. The Americans do not see this. They are getting decadent. Zionists will use this to destroy them.
Wow. Boom. Talk about Veritas.
Sure is. 9/11 truther, JFK truther.
Yep.
Pandemic truther. They got him.
Yeah. They sure did.
They got him with a fake proxy army, CIA, Mossad.
Many Americans don't know about the outside world. Boy, is that not the truth. Majority have no concern or no information about other people. But they're good people that are essentially being led into decadence, and the Zionists are using that to destroy. I mean, if that doesn't capture the big picture, I don't know what does, folks. And that's just every word is true. Spot on.
And there's North Korea, who finally this dangerous situation was defused by Trump. Prior to that, he struck up a friendship with the basketball player Dennis Rodman. It's an odd pairing. Mm-hmm. But Rodman really liked him, and he actually did try to communicate to Obama. That Kim wants to talk to you. And later on, when Obama started his saber rattling, Rodman was quoted as saying "F Obama." He was really upset about this. Yeah. But Rodman says that Kim told him, "Tell Obama to call me if you can, Dennis. I don't want to do war. I don't want to do war," he said to Dennis Rodman. So, and we know that's the case. And Trump got in there and he made peace with North Korea. So Kim Jong-un never wanted war.
All right.
And then finally, we have Assad of Syria, who withstood an 8-year-long proxy war. They never got him. That's what they put ISIS together for. Mossad proxy army to overthrow his government and conquer Syria. But Russia drew a line in the sand. Many Syrians were killed and suffered, though. But here's some quotes from Assad. For 2 years, the Iraqi people have suffered the aftermath of a horrific war and the occupation of America. The world is beginning to speak with one voice. We want the democracy in Iraq to succeed, and we know it cannot succeed as long as she is occupied by a foreign power, and that power is America. Another quote, while we are after peace, Israel is after war. And then he also says, how is it possible that any country would use chemical weapons or any weapons of mass destruction in an area where its own forces are located? That is preposterous. These accusations are completely politicized, and they come on the back of the advances made by the Syrian army against the terrorists. And they were fighting the terrorists. Israel, the secret army of Israel.
Yep.
ISIS was the terrorist. That's who he was fighting.
That's right.
Again, all of this covered up during the build-up to war with Syria. And then finally, I think this is the last one, Russia, the perennial bad guy. Here's a quote from Putin. Got a whole book on Putin, too. Or against Putin. Anyone thinks I'm just taking cherry picking out of context. None of these people want war. Putin, the West is constantly trying to drive us into a corner because we have an independent position, because we maintain it, and because we tell it like it is and do not engage in hypocrisy. But there is a limit to everything. And with Ukraine, our Western partners have crossed the line, playing the bear and acting irresponsibly and unprofessionally. And there's other quotes where he says the New World Order worships Satan, etc. We will not succumb to the unipolar world, etc.
Amazing.
So,
wow. Well,
it
sure is. It sure is, and it really drives home, as we've emphasized with these quotes, the nature of the problem and the reason that the normies and this the pseudo intellectuals environment had flourished for such a long time under this this vast umbrella of ignorance that that they had deliberately engineered by preventing both sides of the story from coming out and being evaluated by the people. And so that's how we ended up in these. That's how they were able to garner all that public support based upon, and each one of those quotes, it was like the leaders pointing out, they've garnered public support for the aggression against us based upon a whole set of lies. They're not telling you the full truth. And even though Americans are good people, they don't really understand or have a real fundamentally solid picture of what's really going on in the world. And just pointing out the way that the media brainwashes people. And unfortunately, for a very long time, that paved the way for all of these wars to move forward on behalf of Israel, really, in the modern era primarily. But going back as far as you can remember, it's been the cabal. It's been at the forefront of this the entire time. So, well, Mike, that was a great piece. We are at 2.5 hours, so we're going to wrap this up. I always ask you towards the end of the show, what's next? What are you working on? Any articles? I know that you have the Q series is really your primary focus right now, which is fantastic. You're up to episode 7. So is there anything else you can share with us about what's next for you?
I'm just going to get started on episode 8 and hopefully have that tomorrow. Another 200 posts from 1,200 to 1,400. And that's in the middle. We're about in the middle of 2018, and we are approaching the death of John McCain. And what's interesting is upon reviewing these old posts again, is seeing all the milestones and the subtle comments. Make no mistake about it. Q let us know in advance, not just once or twice, but that this guy's we're gonna get him. So it's really interesting.
Yep. Cool. All right. Well, incredible work as per usual. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in tonight. Make sure you hit the thumbs up button on your way out if you haven't done that already. And just a reminder, make sure you go to realnewsandhistory.com to check out Mike's work. You'll find all the links that we discussed tonight, including the link to his Rumble channel. In the description of the video, you'll see the link to his Amazon page. And if you could, except for The Bad War and The Song That Never Ends, if you could purchase his books on Amazon, that would be very helpful because it boosts it in the algorithm and presents this to a much wider audience, which is Mike's entire mission. He views his work as being weapons in the information war. And certainly Amazon is the largest marketplace in the world. So if we can get Mike King boosted up to the top, get more people exposed to this material, that is a huge win. And also make sure that you check out the other links in the description. Just reminding everybody about the video that I showed you that Mark produced. Mark Abrams, my good friend from News Treason. Please consider making a donation to support the children. And also going back to earlier in the show, Verity Metals, give Matt Geiger a call, and I'm sure you will not be disappointed. So with that, folks, we're going to sign off for tonight. Thank you so much for tuning in. God bless and Godspeed, everybody. I'll be back soon with another episode. But until then, Patriot out.
Thank you. All right.